Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios today. TD in 1 hour, he's already in the building, so we know that as we got to get into the Titans. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Boy, I tell you, it's been a wild couple of days around here. Like last night after the show, I sat down and I thought to myself, it's only Wednesday? And so today I'm sitting here like, it's only Thursday? This has been a wild and crazy week. And the wild and crazy continues. Yesterday we had the whole Vrabel and Rand Carthon and who said what to Ian Rappaport and when did they say it. And you heard Nick's update right there that, again, Ian Rappaport reported that Will Levis will be starting at quarterback for the Titans. So I kept thinking back to the conversation we had yesterday on the show with Fitz. Because a lot of the times when I theorize or speculate or just kind of throw it against the wall, sometimes I think there's probably this belief that Jared Stillman's just, going crazy because that's what Jared Stillman does. But this just feels a little different. Now, the actual issue at hand, Will Levis or Malik Willis starting against the Falcons, I don't think it really matters at all. Is there a little bit of a competitive advantage if the Atlanta Falcons know that it's going to be Will Levis? Maybe a little bit. And I understand how sports works, especially football. All of these teams think they're the CIA, and they all think that they've got to hide everything from everybody, and they don't think that they're allowed to tell you anything about anybody. Hey, coach, how did the field goal kicker kick today in warm-ups? Who asked you that? Why do you think you deserve to know how the field goal kicker kicked? Transparency is not a big thing. Now, in stretching today, Will Levis was leading the stretches and Malik Willis was behind. So, again, I think the Rappaport report is probably pretty accurate. But that individual issue itself does not matter. What does matter is trust within the organization. Jason Fitz on our show yesterday. Again, a lot of people say, Jared Stillman, he says crazy things. He comes up with crazy theories. Fitz, Yahoo Sports, on our show yesterday says, it's not crazy to think there's an issue going on right now in that locker room, or I shouldn't say locker room, in that building.
It was very clear to multiple people that the coaches did not want it to get out that Will Levis was starting. So now you just got to do the math, in my mind. Like, if you just do the simple math that the coaches made it clear and that Vrabel made it clear what he said, that, I didn't say that and they didn't want that to get out, I think this is a clear indication that the team itself behind closed doors is not on one page. And this is the worst possible situation you can ask for from a fan when you start looking at your team, because if your GM and your front office, scouts, and everybody's not on the same page as the coach, that's when nobody's looking out for each other. Like, that's the thing that has to be fixed right now. Above and beyond everything else with who is actually starting, I think it's more significant for the future of the franchise that one side obviously wanted a secret held and the other side obviously didn't.
Okay, that's a big deal. If the coach can't trust the GM, if the GM can't trust the coach, if the coach can't trust the owner, if the owner can't trust the coach, if the owner can't trust the GM, all of that. Now, here's the thing about owners. You can never lie to the owner, because if you lie to the owner and the owner finds out you lied to the owner, you get fired. So if the owner asks you who's playing and you tell the owner who's playing and the owner goes to Ian Rappaport and the owner tells Ian Rappaport that Will Levis is starting, then you got to suck it up. And you can't be mad at the owner about it because, again, they own the team, you don't. But again, I keep going down this path with Vrabel and Carthon, and I think about the fact that let's just say that Rand Carthon was the one who leaked the Will Levis story. Not that big of a deal, but it could, in theory, violate the trust between him and the coach. The second I start to go down that road, I start to think about what happened on draft night. Ian, who do we always suspect of having Mike Vrabel as their inside source when it comes to reporting Titans stories and news?
Diana Rossini.
Who was in Nashville from the Titans facility reporting all day on draft night that the Titans were ready to trade up to number 3 to take a quarterback?
Diana Rossini.
Okay, so if we're going to look at this and say, all right, so, the coach has every right in the world to be upset with the fact that their preparation for game day, their game plan, their proprietary information as to who's the quarterback, that got leaked and that the coach should be mad. Every time I think about that, I'm like, well, what happened on draft night? Who told who what on draft night? Why was Diana Rossini? ESPN doesn't care about the Titans. They had the 11th pick. They didn't have the 2nd pick in the draft. They had the 11th pick in the draft. Why was there a reporter at the Titans facility on draft night teasing a trade up to number 3 the entire day? Where did that come from? And see, here's the issue. And again, this is why I do not like, and I never did, this collaboration process where one man is not higher on the food chain than the other guy. Number one, I don't like it from the standpoint of who are we going to draft here? We're on the clock with the 9th pick. Who are we drafting? Well, you want Jimmy and I want Johnny. I don't like that. But where I really don't like it is in a situation like this. If Mike Vrabel is in charge of the organization, if he's in charge of, let's just say Rand Carthon's the one who's talking to Ian Rappaport, I don't know. But let's say that's the case. And Mike Vrabel finds out, he can fire Rand Carthon if he's his boss. If Vrabel works for the coach, works for the GM, and the GM has this trade worked out with Arizona where it's like, all right, if our quarterback's there, we're going to make the trade. But we're not going to tell anybody anything. Nobody's going to have a hint of it. Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to even breathe about it. Just like how we were all shocked on draft night 2 years ago when A.J. Brown got traded to the Eagles. Who saw that coming? That was totally out of nowhere. So if they had done that and Rand Carthon thinks he's got to deal with Arizona to move up to 3 to take C.J. Stroud, and then word gets out, and let's say it was Mike Vrabel who let the cat out of the bag, then he can fire him. But they can't do that because they're not each other's bosses. And that leads to anger and resentment and blame and finger pointing. And that's what you get when you lose. And so this story, again, who's starting at quarterback for the Titans on Sunday? I'm not going to say who cares because I do care. And I heard Chuck Pagano earlier today on Pat McAfee, and he was talking about how hard it must be to prepare for 3 quarterbacks, and he would know better than I would. But it's not that big of a deal that Will Levis is starting at quarterback on Sunday, since quite frankly, most of us probably assumed that Will Levis was going to start at quarterback anyway. But if there is a violation of trust that is going on in that organization, and Jason Fitz told you there is a violation of trust going on in that organization. Charles Robinson, today on Robbie and Joe, hinted at a violation of trust inside of that organization. If they've got those issues, this is not going to work. If they've got those differences of opinions and they've got agendas where, one guy goes to this reporter and then that guy goes to that reporter, this is going to be a problem now. And so the more I hear about the situation inside of the Titans, and I know I yelled and screamed last week about the incompetence of this organization, which just seems to keep digging themselves a deeper hole all the time. If that's the issue, then I don't know where you go from here. I don't know how you rebuild that trust. I don't even know how you punish somebody, right? Again, let's just say if And I have no proof that Rand Carthon is the one that leaked the story to Ian Rappaport. I have the accusation made by Paul Kaharski that Rand Carthon was leaking to Ian Rappaport in Minnesota about the Traylon Burks knee injury. I've got Fitz strongly suggesting that there is a front office v. coaching staff divide with the Titans, but I have no proof. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that the GM did go to Ian Rappaport, or somebody in the front office did go to Ian Rappaport and told them Will Levis is starting. Well, you just gave away trade secrets ahead of the Falcons game. That is a fireable offense. But then how can Vrabel hold somebody accountable when it comes to somebody leaking word out of the building after we saw Diana Rossini reporting live from the Titans headquarters on ESPN on draft night for 24 hours teasing a trade that ended up not happening because the Houston Texans, like everybody else, caught wind of what you were trying to do and decided to change their plans. So now how can anybody over there trust anybody? But because nobody over there outside of the owner is empowered to make an executive decision by themselves, there's no way for word not to get out. The only way that this works is if everybody that knows what's what is sworn to secrecy. And it feels like the Titans have the exact opposite issue right now. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And again, the who is playing quarterback element of this might be the least important part of the issue at hand. It was obvious the head coach was mad about it yesterday. And I understand why. But then every time I start to sympathize for the coach who's trying to hide, which quarterback's going to play, and they did a fantastic job of hiding which quarterback was going to play last year when Tannehill got hurt and they went on the road to Houston. And I think it was Friday night that they downgraded him to out because he didn't travel with the team because of an illness. And then they did a fantastic job the next week on the road at Kansas City, where me and Derek were doing the pregame show. They're sitting there like scrolling through Twitter, seeing everybody's video, and Tannehill has arrived for Sunday Night Football in Kansas City, but he's not wearing a suit. What do we make of it? Because that's how we were trying to figure out the information as who's going to play quarterback. And now on Wednesday of the work week, it's out? Whew. Trade secrets. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Now, what happens when you've got an organization where there are two people that are equally in charge and they don't trust each other? What happens when there are all these different people in ownership and you don't know who trusts who? We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 here on the Stillman and Company program. Let me tell all the fine folks out there to make your silly underdog picks for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at thegamenashville.com or the 1025 The Game app as we approach Week 9 of the college football season and Week 8 of the NFL. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
Prince's Hot Chicken is Nashville's original hot chicken restaurant, serving up the gold standard of hot chicken for almost 100 years. Whether you get their tenders, wings, whole chicken, their Andre chicken sandwich, or one of their fabulous sides, you will not be disappointed with this Nashville staple. Ranging from plain to mild to hot, Prince's has something for everyone. There's even the XXX hot flavor for the adventurous types. You've been warned. Prince's Hot Chicken has multiple locations in Nashville, with their newest location opening at the Tanger Outlets in Antioch, October 27th. Prince's, Nashville's original hot chicken.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
Lee Company is the trusted expert for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, and general maintenance for facilities throughout Kentucky and Tennessee. Our technology and expertise guides facility owners and managers to smart decisions. When you need a reliable partner to keep your facility profitable and running 24/7, we hope you'll think of us. Visit LeeCompany.com to learn more. That's LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need.
The Marvel Spider-Man 2 official video game soundtrack is out now. Featuring Swing, performed by Grammy and BET Award nominee artist Earth Gang, and featuring Benji. Produced by Oscar and Grammy Award winner D. Miles. Be sure to check out the most anticipated game of the year, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Available only on PlayStation 5 now.
We can go pound for pound. We can go round for round.
Get ready to elevate your game day experience. Titans fans, it's all happening at Mimo Bar on Titans Terrace. Just a short walk from the bridge at First and Demumbrian. They've got your epic pregame and postgame covered with their Italian classics and sensational cocktails. Your senses will be on a joyride. And hey, listen to this. Everyone at the Titans Terrace gets a chance to bag a Gibson Guitars merch bundle, a $100 Mimo postgame gift card, or a weekend brunch for two. So why wait? Mimo Bar, where Nashville's heritage meets Italian flavor.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
When I start talking to national people, the conversation I got a couple of times was like, hey, that vibe's not good. Like there is an issue between the coaching staff and everybody else. So like they're not all on one page. And that was pretty clear in this situation. So I think there is an issue. And once you start getting into this, like this is the thing that we always have to deal with when your team starts losing. You got to figure out which side you're going to be on for all of this. So if you're Rand Carthon and you came in and you took this job, you want control over the way the roster is going to be built. If you're Mike Vrabel, you want control over everything for as long as we can all remember to some degree in a way that doesn't actually get you in trouble for having control. So it's like this weird dynamic between the two of them. It's got to get fixed. But the question is, who fixes it? Who within the organization is going to put everybody down at the table at the same time to sing Kumbaya? Like I think there's a very serious issue inside that building between people that work for the Titans, and I'm not talking about the players.
There you go. That was Fitz yesterday on the show. I mean, boy, he was bringing the fastball with some tea on the Titans. And again, issues in the building, bad vibe, and I ain't talking about the players, Fitz said. Now, I have no idea if Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel trust each other. The thing about this, somebody texted in and said, you're making 2 straight shows purely on speculation and turmoil inside the front office. And let me say this, when nobody tells you anything about anything, which they don't do, then you have to speculate. The Titans have set themselves up for that. And for everybody out there that would say, well, what do you expect them to do? Tell you, the secrets of the organization? Well, I mean, the Predators do an incredibly good job at being transparent with the fans about what their plans are and about where they think the thing is headed and who's in charge and who's running the show and why they sent Tanner Mullendijk down. And so you can do it, and it can be okay. It can be okay. But I go back to the Fitz thing where he's telling you there's a bad vibe right now in that organization. Now, I have not been told of the bad vibe outside of hearing Fitz yesterday on the show. But the one thing I will say, and this is not specific to Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, but is specific to this kind of situation where you have 2 people that are equally in charge and the team is losing. Do you know what happens when you find yourself in that predicament in sports, specifically football? One of those guys is going to try to get the other guy fired. It happens all the time. That is, and again, I'm not saying that Mike's going to try to get Rand fired or that Rand's going to try to get Mike fired. I'm not saying that. But that is what happens in these certain situations. Hate to say it, Floyd Reese and Jeff Fisher. Floyd Reese didn't try to get Jeff Fisher fired. In fact, he saved Jeff Fisher's job numerous times. Jeff Fisher tried to get him fired and did. I had somebody that told me after Floyd died, they said that all these rumors were going around about Fisher and Floyd, Fisher and Floyd, Fisher and Floyd. And he had talked to Floyd about it, and Floyd said, oh, that's nonsense. That's bull crap. That's nothing. Oh, that's nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom, Jeff Fisher and Steve Underwood slammed the door on Floyd. How about John Robinson and Mike Mularkey? Remember that? That was an arranged marriage. And I got to tell you, I actually thought it was an arranged marriage that was going to work. You know, I knew that when John Robinson took the job, that the Titans had basically said, Amy wants Mike Mularkey to be the coach. And because there's only 32 of these in the world, John Robinson said, okay. And I had a pretty good feeling that, well, you know, eventually after a couple years, he's going to fire the coach and bring in his own guy. But then Mike Mularkey won more than anybody expected. They were 3-13 in 2015. He takes the job on a full-time basis. They're 9-7 and on the door of the playoffs in 2016. You can't fire the coach after that. Then they made the playoffs in 2017. They were going to fire him if he didn't. They made the playoffs in 2017. Then word came out of the day of the Kansas City wild card game that if they lost, they were going to fire the coach. Then they won the Kansas City wild card game. Then the owner put out a statement saying that Mike was the coach going forward. Then they fired him anyways. So when you've got these arranged marriages in the NFL, one guy is always going to try to get the other guy fired, especially if you're not winning. And that right now is a situation this team finds itself in. And so, again, I'm not speaking to this particular situation, and I'm not saying that I know that Rand's going to try to get Mike fired or Mike's going to try to get Rand fired, because I don't know that either way. And what did Vrabel always tell us, Ian? If we think one thing,
go opposite.
Think the opposite. But in almost every other situation like this in the NFL where it is not defined, one guy's always trying to get the other guy fired. Andy Reid got John Dorsey fired. Now his guy, Brent Veach, is the general manager. That's how this league works. 615-737-1025, and our phone lines are, of course, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Matt in Nashville says, is it possible that someone from Levis's camp leaked the news that he would be starting? Now, somebody brought this to my attention yesterday, and they said that per the Rappaport report, they said sources, not source, sources. And then I listened to Joe talk about it today, and, you know, Joe Rexroad, he's a lot of things. Apparently, he's a expert at hand movement. Joe Rexroad said today that, like, again, he's a capital J journalist, that the standard with which he thinks Ian Rappaport has to have is that he has to have somebody in that building in order to say that Will Levis is going to be starting. So I can't say that it was somebody from Levis's camp that put it out there. One texter says, Jared, everything that you are saying points to Amy Adams Strunk being the source of chaos. That comes from Fred and Gallatin. You know what drives me crazy about the current situation the Titans find themselves in? There's really two things that just drive me up a wall. The first is that it feels like everything is just chasing bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, right? It's like everything that they've done, you know, the A.J. Brown trade was a bad decision. And I was in favor of the trade when it happened. So I can't tell you that I thought, oh my God, how could John Robinson have thought to do that? But he gets fired over it. So he gets fired over it. And I thought that was kind of a bad decision to fire a guy over, you know, again, multiple missteps. But a guy who won a lot of games just to fire him out of the blue like that after you had given him a contract extension. So the things that you didn't like, Isaiah Wilson and Dylan Radins and the Julio Jones trade, well, you gave him a contract extension after all of that, so you must have been okay with all of that, and then it was the A.J. Brown trade that set you over the edge. So that drove me crazy because I think that that's ridiculous. You give a guy a contract extension and you fire him over one bad trade. Then you chase it by saying, well, Vrabel didn't want the A.J. Brown trade, so we're going to give Vrabel more power, and we're going to bring somebody in here who's going to work with Vrabel. That's what we're going to do. And it's like, that's not how you run an NFL team. But again, you're chasing the last mistake more so than you are running the operation properly. And so now these two, if they're getting into it, if there's a who said what, who did what, who, now there's going to be another issue. And I think that Amy Adams Strunk has good intentions. I really do. But I do not like the way that this organization is being run in that regard. Herb says the train has come off the tracks and it's only been 6 games. Here's the thing. I really thought the Titans were going to be fine. Like on Sunday, when I watched all the games and I watched the Falcons, and I'm not that impressed with Atlanta, and I think Desmond Ridder stinks. Like, when I was watching that, I'm like, they're going to win this game on Sunday, and then they're going to have the opportunity to turn their season around on the road at Pittsburgh on that Thursday night. And then they traded Kevin Byard the next day, and then the Will Levis news comes out, and then Vrabel's going crazy at these press conferences. What Vrabel said to Joe yesterday about the hands thing, that was a big-time screw-up by Mike Vrabel. Because if the only thing that he did was the thing with me on Monday, then people would have just blamed that on me. People would have just said, yeah, he showed him. But then when he gets all wacky with Joe the next day, it's like, dude, what is the matter with this guy? So you've got that. You've got the trade, which I still don't understand the compensation for the trade. A 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick? Really? And then some people are like, they're lucky to get that. It's like, geez. Yeah, I'm sure the Eagles bought high on Kevin Byard. But again, you have that, then you have the Levis report, which isn't anything crazy, but then you have Vrabel's response to it, and then you have what Fitz said about the organization. Like, what the hell? And I'm telling you, I knew this was going to happen if things didn't go well. When everybody kept asking, when Rand Carthon got hired, and I want to say it was like a 2 or 3 day period between when he got hired and when they had a press conference. And when that all went down, all the constant discussion was who's in charge, who's in charge, who's in charge. And then when they both got up there and they completely avoided the idea of who was in charge, I said to you, I think they're telling you the truth. When the owner says that it's a collaboration, and when Rand Carthon avoids the question when you ask who's got final say, and he says that's not important, that's not important. It's because they promised the owner that they'd work together and they'd find a way. And that it works perfectly when you win. When the GM goes out and finds good players, or the coach tells the GM, these are the kind of players I want, and the GM goes out and he finds those kind of players, and they're good players and they help the team win, then it is, man, what a job by the GM. I'm so glad we have him. And then when the GM is winning games on Sunday because his coach is doing a good job coaching him up, it's like, oh, I'm so glad I have him. Now, if it's the case of Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones, it's who gets the credit for why they win. But when you win, for the most part, outside of Jerry and Jimmy, when you win, everybody gets the credit, everybody's happy. When you lose, fingers get pointed. And I use Clowney as the example here. When John Robinson got fired and the people that were complaining about the job that John Robinson did pointed to all the things they didn't like, Jadeveon Clowney was featured primarily towards the top of every list. Well, John Robinson signed Jadeveon Clowney. And he did. But who do you think really wanted Jadeveon Clowney? His former coach in Houston? But Rabel doesn't get in trouble for that stuff because we knew who was in charge. So hopefully the Titans will win on Sunday. It'll make everybody's life easier because, again, all this stuff goes away when you win. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. By the way, Mike Florio had a freaking smoking take when it came to the Titans. And it's like two smoking takes rolled into one. We'll get to that coming up next. Speaking of smoking hot, be sure to join 1025 The Game and Chase McKay for the grand opening of Prince's Hot Chicken at the brand new Tanger Outlets in Antioch tomorrow from noon to 2. Come hang out with Chase for a chance to win Preds tickets and enjoy the best hot chicken in Nashville from Prince's Hot Chicken, Nashville's original hot chicken restaurant.
Every day we are live and local.
I think Vanderbilt is steady, disciplined.
It's been so long since Tennessee's gotten out of the first weekend.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I don't mind going to another team. You want to know what the coaching staff's going to look like.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I bought jewelry in New York, I bought jewelry in LA, I bought jewelry in South Beach, I bought jewelry internationally.
Business owner Adam Rothberg knows jewelry. And of all the stores he shopped over the years, his number one place to go, it's right here, Genesis Diamonds.
There's not a real big reason to go visit a lot of other jewelry stores. Everything that you hope to find everywhere else, you may get bits and pieces of it from others, but you come here and it's a one-stop shop. It's everything that you need to have.
From the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds to the top designer brands in the world to a stunning selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
You really don't need to go anywhere else. Quality of the pieces, obviously a large selection, a selection that fits into a lot of people's budget, and then obviously good counsel and good advocacy for the people that work here that actually know the pieces and know the jewelry business.
And who aren't paid on commission.
They're not pushy. No hard sell.
All this plus the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry, plus nationwide price protection and free service for life on any purchase.
Service you get from Genesis is second to none.
Come discover the store that's got it all. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. If you have some things around your home that you've been putting off fixing, like your regular HVAC maintenance or a clogged bathroom drain, Hiller has some big discounts this month. When the temperature drops and you start using your heater for the first time, you do not want to be dealing with breakdown issues, and this month, Hiller is offering half off HVAC tune-up. And Hiller is bringing back their $99 drain cleaning special. These deals only last this month, so be sure to call today. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Come try Calabria Brick Oven Pizzeria. Their pizza is cooked to perfection, but that's not all they're known for. Try one of their delicious appetizers, salads, fresh calzones, and they have a full bar and dessert. Calabria has been a Mount Juliet staple for 7 years now and has a new location in the heart of Goodlettsville off Long Hollow Pike. Come join the family at Calabria. After all, life's too short to eat bad pizza.
He knows Nashville sports.
And you've got Mike Vrabel in what feels like sort of a back against the wall game. They're at their best.
And he's not scared to tell it like it is.
They need to go on the road and win a game.
He is Outkick's Chad Withrow.
16 5-star players and 52 4-star players.
Withrow joins Stillman and Company every Friday at 5. Brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
They still have all of the talent.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
front office has quit on you with the move to move on Kevin, as the players that are trying to win, that the front office doesn't believe in what maybe you guys believe?
That's a question for them. I'm just focused on my job.
Mike, as a player, how he would feel, and he said that he wasn't going to speak for the players about how the front office.
Well, I can't speak for the front office. So.
I'm talking about like the move the front office made, and whether or not you guys feel like they have any belief in you.
I mean, I'm gonna believe in myself. If nobody does, I'm confident in myself, confident in the way I work. I'm sure every guy feels the same way, and then we're confident in each other. That's just how I've always been. I'm sure guys think the same way. I think nothing that happens is going to sway anybody from their confidence and how they feel they are as a player. I think everybody just focus on getting better and then see where it takes us.
There you go. That was Derrick Henry. And at first I thought I didn't word the question very well, and then when I listened to it right there, I'm like, no, I worded the question fine. Derrick was trying to get out of answering it. And, I love Derrick, but no. How do you feel that the front office is giving up on you by trading Kevin Byard? Well, I don't give up on myself. And I think that's probably well said. So Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, had a freaking Titans take today, and it's a two-part take. And I mean, let's just play the cut. This was Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk this morning.
One of the great unknowns is where the owner stands on the current organization.
Yeah.
Is the owner willing to do a little tear down? Is the owner all in with Mike Vrabel? She should be. Rand Carthon is still new on the job. And maybe it is kind of a strategic movement to lay the foundation for the future. They're most likely going to have a different quarterback next year than Ryan Tannehill, either Malik Willis or Will Levis. Willis has been a pleasant surprise in his second year. Levis was the guy they moved up the draft in round 2 because they weren't sold on Willis. That's for next year. And so maybe you kind of rebuild, reconfigure. If you can get value for Derrick Henry, maybe you do it. Maybe one of these contenders decides. And remember, we got one more week of games, and there are no buys in week 8. Everybody's playing. So you got to get through the game. Somebody may get injured. Somebody may win a game they were supposed to lose a game they're supposed to win. All of a sudden, the window opens for a Derrick Henry trade between now and 4 o'clock Eastern next Tuesday. So I'm watching the Titans, and I'm watching Derrick Henry or anybody else they have that they may want to move on.
Okay, so Florio's like, hey, where does the owner stand in all of this? Because, is she going to be willing to go through a teardown job here? Good question, Florio. We don't know where the owner stands on this. But I don't know where the owner stands on anything. Like, I don't know if the owner wants to win this year. They didn't spend any money. So I guess not. They have the 25th payroll in the NFL. Is the owner all in on Mike Vrabel? She should be. First of all, I love being finger wagged by the national media about Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's such a good coach. You guys should be lucky that Mike Vrabel's your coach and won 2 out of their last 13 games. And you're telling me that we should sit here. Thank God we've got this coach that won't fire the special teams coach that can't catch punts. Woo! So that's the first part. Where does the owner stand? I don't know. Where does the owner stand on Vrabel? I don't know. Where does the owner stand on the quarterback situation? I don't know. Where does the owner stand on spending money? I don't know. I don't know any of this. So that's a good question. The second part is Derrick Henry. Now, Buck has reported that the Ravens want Derrick Henry. Now, I love Buck, but I don't think Buck has very good sources with the Ravens, so I'm going to assume that Buck's sources are probably coming from the Titans, which means that the Titans are floating it out there that the Ravens want Derrick Henry. So keep that in mind. Now, Dan Graziano had a piece, one of those subscriber pieces at ESPN about Derrick Henry and about the Titans and what they might do, and he had a smoking hot take, too, when it came to the Titans, which was the idea that they might be showcasing Willis and Levis this week for a possible trade. I'm like, who's going to trade for Willis? But that's a different discussion. Graziano wrote at ESPN today that every executive that he talks to in the league, the second they start talking about Derrick Henry, they start talking about the money. They're like, well, no, we ain't paying that. I think it's like $6 million the rest of the year. We're not paying that. Which is what's amazing about Kevin Byard's restructure, where he got more money up front when he took the pay cut It basically allowed the Eagles to trade for him without having to pay for him. Kevin Byard's restructure, where he got more money up front, actually helped him get traded, which was something that he didn't want, reportedly. But that all these teams across the league are looking at the money when it comes to Derrick Henry, and they're like, no, we're not interested in that. We know Derrick Henry's good. We know we could use help in the running game, but we're not paying $6 million, which is crazy to me because, Ian, how many teams out there do you think have more than $6 million in cap space for the rest of the season?
I don't know, 5 to 10?
I mean, there's a lot of teams. Cleveland Browns have tons of cap space. I think they have the most cap space in the league.
They got cap space. I mean, I'd say, yeah, half the league maybe.
So why do these teams not want Derrick Henry if they've got all this cap space?
Well, they have a running back probably.
Well, not Cleveland.
Yeah, that's true.
So, again, Dan Graziano says nobody wants to pay the salary on Henry. All these teams have cap space, and still nobody wants to pay for Derrick Henry. Because the cap's fake and the money's real. That's why. So that's why Derrick Henry's going to stay here, because nobody's willing to offer anything for Derrick Henry. And the idea of trading Derrick Henry is not the same. You know, the Titans just keep saying when it comes to Byard, that's business. We have to make the business decisions here. And the one thing that I keep trying to figure out is a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick good business? And I haven't really had anybody tell me that the answer to that is yes. But it's easier to maybe use the business line when it comes to Byard. You get a 5th and a 6th-round pick for Derrick Henry. I'm like, you just traded Derrick Henry for what you traded for Dennis Daly and Hugo Amadi. I don't know if that's a very good idea. More of your phones as promised. 615-737-1025. Andrew says, so fitting that Henry's last game for the Titans will be in those ridiculous, ugly uniforms. Perfect for all of the Titan fans living in the past. Number one, I don't think Derrick Henry's getting traded. And number two, I like the Oiler jerseys. I don't love them. I'm not one of these people that's like, I just wish we wore the Oiler jerseys all the time. I do wish the Titans would go back to the white helmets that they used to have when they first moved here. I thought those white helmets were much nicer than the current navy blue helmets that they wear. But I like the Oiler jerseys. For a lot of people, those Oiler jerseys take them back to the Love You Blue era and the Earl Campbells and the Bum Phillipses and those kind of guys. For me, it takes me back to the Tennessee Oilers and the one Tennessee Oiler game I went to at Vanderbilt to watch Derek and Chris Sanders get beat by Ryan Leaf and the San Diego Chargers. That's what that takes me back to. Texter said, could the Titans trade Henry for some picks if they agree to pay the money for the rest of the season? Now, when it comes to where does the owner stand, I do not know where the owner stands with rebuilding. I do not know where the owner stands with trading Derrick Henry, because if you trade Derrick Henry, that goes through the owner. You do not trade a player like Derrick Henry without the owner being involved. So I have no idea how she feels about that. You know what I do have an opinion on? How she feels about paying the rest of the money when it comes to Derrick Henry if he's not on the team. And my gut tells me she probably isn't going to be down for that. But yes, if you wanted better picks, the Rams did this with Denver a couple years ago, where Denver sent Von Miller to the Rams for their Super Bowl run in 2021, and Denver paid the rest of the money, but the Rams had to give up a 2nd and a 3rd round pick in order to get Von Miller. Texture said, Jared, check Paul Kaharski's latest tweet about the DeAndre Hopkins autograph signing. I did see this earlier today. In fact, when we changed over the show, I said to the midday show, I said, did you guys see this DeAndre Hopkins card signing or whatever? They're like, yeah. Now, I didn't see. What did DeAndre say to Paul? Do we have that, Ian?
It was DeAndre, I think, quote tweeted and said he had never heard of that company before. So pretty much, I don't think it was directly at Paul, but I think he was just like, hey, I'd never heard of that company.
So DeAndre said that. So now the guy who owns the card shop says, we were set up to do a signing through a third-party agency, and this was the information we were given this morning after multiple delays. We were only updating our customers, nothing more, nothing less, nothing with trade info. What a time to be alive. I tell you. You know what's funny is I remember, like, when I first got here, and people were like, the kind of radio you do, man, that's not going to work in Nashville. And now it's all gossip and speculation. So at least I feel somewhat validated in that regard. The 2015 me feels somewhat validated in that regard. 615-737-1025. More of your phones. Plus, the one thing that I feel very certain about when it comes to who will be on the Titans or who will not be on the Titans on Sunday. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 615-737-1025, 1025-1063 The Game. And be sure to tune in to 94.9 The Fan this Saturday for our college football game of the weeks. Smoking hotly brought to you by Twin Peaks as Vanderbilt takes on Ole Miss at 6:30 with pregame coverage at 5 o'clock. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks for scenic views of all the hottest college football games across the country and, of course, home of their 29-degree beer.
Vanderbilt football lives here.
This Saturday, it's Vanderbilt and Ole Miss from Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi. Kickoff at 6:30. Pregame coverage at 5.
Your home for the Commodores is 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Preds fans, we are going bigger, bolder, and golder than ever this season in Smashville. Join us for the first gold game of the season as we take on the Toronto Maple Leafs this Saturday, October 28th at Bridgestone Arena. Head down early for the Preds Plaza Party presented by Dr. Pepper to enjoy family-friendly activities, giveaways, live music, and more. Plus, everyone in attendance will receive an exclusive gold t-shirt courtesy of Jersey Mike's. Secure your tickets today at NashvillePredators.com. Welcome to Smashville.
Get Black Friday deals earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Get the gifts you want and save up to 40% throughout the entire store. Beat the crowds and save on hundreds of 4K TVs, appliances, computers, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing on items like an LG 75-inch 4K TV, now only $649, or a Samsung French door refrigerator, only $13.99. Black Friday deals are here at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's John Tesh. We've all felt the impact of inflation on everything from food to housing to gas. But most people don't realize the cost of your home and auto insurance is also likely to go up. With the rising cost of building materials, car parts, and labor, even the insurance companies are taking a hit, which means you will too. So if you're working with a company that only has one option and not a company that shops multiple carriers to find the best deal, you're wasting your money. It's why you should be working with Zander Insurance. They represent over 24 top insurance companies that are competing for your business, meaning you get the right home and auto coverage at the lowest prices this year and every year. And Zander's service can't be beat, I know from experience. Just check out their reviews. Saving money has to be a priority these days. Go to Zander.com or call 800-356-4282 and find out how much you can save. You'll see why over 500,000 families trust Zander.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter, day one.
Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but
Derek,
let's
Professor Derek. They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman & Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, I was in a cast for a few days into the weekend. Then I was in a walking boot and scooter for a few days, and then just got off the scooter and into a shoe.
Hey, that was Ryan Tannehill talking about his week in a cast. How about that? Then he had the little scooter, and now he's back into a shoe. Is the injury report out yet, Ian?
Not that I've seen, nope.
Okay, so I'm going to assume Tannehill didn't practice today. So there's all this talk about who's going to be on the team, who's not going to be on the team, and I can't tell you what they're thinking. I don't have a source that's telling me that the Titans are interested. I have no idea. But what I do know is this. Ryan Tannehill's not playing on Sunday. I know that Mike Vrabel has been very staunch in this discussion of what if Ryan is ready, then Ryan will go. And I know Tannehill talked yesterday about how he's going to try to get back, and that's great. But I think we all know that Tannehill's not going to play Sunday. You know, I think in large part because we were told that this ankle injury was like last year's ankle injury, and last year's ankle injury missed 2 games, including a division game the week right after the ankle injury, and then that Sunday nighter against the Chiefs. That's like, if he couldn't play on that Sunday nighter against the Chiefs, there's no way that he's going to be able to turn around with this situation and give it a go on Sunday against the Falcons. Now, I do think he's probably up in the air for that Thursday nighter at Pittsburgh, but he is not playing on Sunday against the Falcons. I mean, Levis is going to be the quarterback, but it will not be Tannehill. 615-737-1025. Texter says, does a 5th and 6th round pick give the Titans trade-up power in the draft? Let me ask you, trading where? Like, does it give you power in the 4th round to trade back in by dealing a 5th rounder and next year's 5th rounder to move back into the 4th? Yes. Does it give you power to move up from 13 to 6? No. The value of those high picks, like if you look at one of those trade charts, the value of those high picks, I think it's like $3,000 for the first overall pick. And then it goes down to like $2,700 and $2,500 and $2,800, like $2,200. And it goes from there. And the value of a 5th round pick is like $17,000. So, no. Texter said, did Jared just admit that his show is all gossip and rumor? Have we ever not said that?
I don't know about all gossip and rumor, but
I mean, there's some hard-hitting analysis on this program.
Yeah. Jared's film room. Go inside the film room.
Jared's film room.
Trevor.
Jared versus Joe. That's not gossip. That's just screaming. So it's not all gossip, but yeah, it's a lot of gossip. It's like these people that are like, Vrabel the other day when he got out there. And this might have been like even before he was asked a question. When I can't remember exactly when he said it in the Bayard press conference, but Vrabel was like, these are the hard decisions that I have to make. And I know there's going to be people that second guess. And Vrabel looked right at me and even pointed like, there's going to be people that second guess. You, like Uncle Sam, like you. And it's like, first of all, number one, I will second guess because the backbone of sports talk radio is second guessing the coach and general manager. And number two, we do plenty of first guessing on this program. Back me up on that. We do a lot of first guessing.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes. So did Jared admit that the show is all gossip and rumor? Something to that. Texter said, I read that the Titans could restructure Derrick Henry's contract to make a trade more palatable. If they did that, could they get a day 2 pick? Again, first off, before we even get to that, and I think the answer is no, you're probably not going to get a day 2 pick, even if you do eat all the money on Derrick Henry. Do you think your owner is going to be interested in eating $6 million so that you can get a 4th round pick instead of a 6th round pick? I don't think she would be. So I don't even think it's like worth discussing. I don't think she's going to do that. Texter says, I think Tannehill is done. If Levis wins the next 2 games, they'll probably stick with him. If he loses, the season is probably over, so they'll probably just let him finish out the season. Now, that is actually not as crazy of a take as I don't think that Tannehill is done. I think Tannehill's playing pretty decent football right now, and if they could block for him, that Tannehill would be having a good season.
Do you think Tannehill's played his last snap as a Titan?
No. But I was wondering if maybe some of the reason that Vrabel – I think the main reason that Vrabel is not committing to naming Will Levis the starting quarterback is because Vrabel doesn't want the Falcons to know that Will Levis is the starting quarterback. The second thing I think that as to why Vrabel could be doing this of, I'm not telling anybody who the quarterback is, that it's going to be both quarterbacks, is I could see Vrabel not wanting to run into the position that I think sometimes teams fall into with young quarterbacks, which is they get put in there on an emergency basis. The young quarterback plays well right away, and then at that point, it's like the horse has left the barn, and now that's your quarterback. Like now, at that point, Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback of the Chargers, and the doctor punctured his lung when he was shooting him up before a game. And Herbert went out there and I think took the Chiefs to overtime or lost at the very, very end against Kansas City. And it was like, that's Justin Herbert's job now. And I could see Vrabel not wanting to put himself in a position where, if Levis wins the next 2 games, where everybody in town is going to be screaming and calling for Will Levis. And I could see that. And so he tries to slow it down a little bit. Jimmy says, Jared, you could be right. Levis might be a good quarterback, but if you're wrong, you'll lose all credibility behind all that I've built up about Will Levis. Whoa. I have not built up Will Levis. If you're going to put my credibility on the line for any of these quarterbacks, it's Anthony Richardson. Because I loved Anthony Richardson. And I had a meltdown on draft night when Indianapolis took him, thinking about Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning and how, oh, God, if they get the next one of those. And I said the only saving grace would be if the Colts ruin Anthony Richardson. And he's played 5 games and has already had massive shoulder surgery, so maybe the Colts will ruin him. 615-737-1025. Boy, you guys are lighting up the text line today. TD is in the house. Try to bring some sensibility back to the program. We will do that coming up next here with the full hour of Teron Davenport for the TD Power Hour, 615-737-1025. And we'll hit your phones at the end of the TD Power Hour like we always do on a Stillman and Company program. By the way, be sure to join me, Crazy Uncle Chris Sanders, and D. Mace at Teddy's Tavern, located across the street from the Bridgestone Arena Plaza, on Sunday from 9:30 to 11:30 for the award-winning pregame show. The award-winning pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and the Beast Unleashed.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles let you create your own delicious combo. Choose from a sausage biscuit, egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, and a medium hot coffee. But it's obvious which combo's the best. Sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes. Well, maybe it's the fresh cracked egg and cheese biscuit with a medium hot coffee. Or 2 savory sausage biscuits. Whichever you pick, you can't go wrong. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price.
In any work environment, culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. Hey, this is General Manager Sean Ford with Cromwell Media. And this month, we have several celebrating their anniversary working with us. From our corporate office, Janice Russell is celebrating 33 years and Dorothy Black, 29. Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad, the duo that make up our morning show on 102.5 The Game, are celebrating 3 years. And Connor Newt, who works for 102.5 behind the scenes, is celebrating 1 year with us as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man,
this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Teron Davenport is here, TD from ESPN for the TD Power Hour. TD, it's been a wild and crazy week around these parts.
Yeah, it's been really crazy. There's so much going on. Man, the Kevin Byard trade is just, that's a big one. Obviously, all this Derrick Henry trade rumors. I mean, there is absolutely a lot going on, and the press conferences have been interesting as well.
They have been very interesting. Let's start with the quarterback. Let's just hit everything all in a row, right? Let's start with the quarterback. Then we'll do the second segment on the trades. Then we'll talk about this Falcon game or who may play in it and who may not. Let's start with this quarterback drama because there's the first side of it, which is he really going to play two quarterbacks on Sunday? And then there's, Levis, is he going to start? Willis, and then Vrabel keeps talking about Tannehill playing, and I think there's no chance Tannehill plays, but there's that angle of it. And then there is the who leaked to Ian Rappaport that they put out there that Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback for Vrabel to immediately get up there and refute it, whereas, I think Rappaport's probably right with his report that Levis is going to start.
He's probably right. I think Levis does likely get the start. How they go about managing it, I don't know. But I think before we sit here and crucify Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly and that coaching staff for putting both quarterbacks out there, why don't we wait to see if it happens? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's something that, we have to do. Right now there could be a degree of gamesmanship going. We know that it's very, very unlikely that Tannehill plays, but the Falcons don't know that, right? So it's just, I would imagine they're trying to put all three of the quarterbacks into the mix. And then also, when Mike Vrabel says that both quarterbacks will play, does that mean that it's 25 snaps for Willis and 25 for Levis? It could mean that there's 40 snaps for Levis and a package of 5 snaps for Willis. Very similar, and this is something that I've said before in how I thought the Titans should handle Malik Willis, very similar to Colin Kaepernick when he first came to the 49ers. They had a pack. They wanted to bring him along. And then the same thing could be said for how the Ravens had Lamar Jackson mixed in. And you remember when they came here, they shut the Titans out, by the way, with Flacco as the quarterback.
That was an
ugly
ugly game.
Yeah, it was bad. They blitzed the mess out of him. But 10 sacks that game. But Lamar Jackson had a package. And when you have a dynamic playmaker like Willis, I could see you doing that. Me personally, whoever's the quarterback, I would just make them the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was a little torn on this from the standpoint of the preparation, like the trade secrets of, does it really matter if it's Levis or Willis for the Falcons? Like, are the Falcons, that worried about either guy? But then I was listening to Chuck Pagano on McAfee, and he was like, boy, I tell you, imagine being Arthur Smith, and I forget who the defensive coordinator in Atlanta is. Mm-hmm. But imagine being Arthur, I think his name's Richard something, or I don't know. Imagine being Arthur and Richard, having to prepare for all three quarterbacks. Oh, and I was like, well, Chuck Pagano would know better than I would. So when he's sitting there talking about, And so if it comes out on a Wednesday that, it's Levis, that does probably make the job of the Falcons a little bit easier. So I understand why Vrabel would say that, that both quarterbacks are going to play. Then comes the question of, it clearly bothered Vrabel that it was reported Wednesday morning that Levis was going to be the starting quarterback. He immediately refuted it. And I will say this, TD, if he was thinking about bluffing on the two quarterbacks, now I almost feel certain he's going to play the two quarterbacks as like a way of being like, that report's not true.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. It is a competitive advantage to know who you're going to face. And, Ryan Nielsen is in place to take over for Dean Pease as the coordinator. So, you got a younger coordinator.
It's close with Richard.
I just let you cook a little bit. But, no, I mean, you have a guy who, is going through his first 6 games as that team's coordinator, and it would only make it easier to know who you're facing. But I just here's my thing. And it just – I don't know if it's because he's the new guy in the building or what, but why is it just a foregone conclusion that there's a highway of information going from Rand Carthon to Ian Rappaport? Like, why is it just foregone? How do we know that is the case?
Well, we don't know that.
Right.
We don't know that.
So when we get on here or we post on Twitter or we write that Rappaport is getting that information from Rand Carthon, do we know that? We don't.
No. All I had was when we were standing there in Minnesota, and he accused Rand of leaking to Rappaport on the Burks injury. And then I think the other part of it, too, is, kind of the heads of state. There's Rand, there's Vrabel, there's Amy. Mm-hmm. And it's like every time we talk, and I use Amy as an example here. Amy's not the only person who owns this team. But when we talk about, we talk
controlling
about Amy, So I think it's like if Vrabel's clearly irritated that somebody leaked it to Rappaport, the most likely person that he would be irritated with would either be Rand or Amy, just because of, I don't want to say like the characters in the film, but that is kind of how the structure lines up.
Not necessarily. How do we know Rappaport doesn't have ties to Tim Kelly? How do we know Rappaport doesn't have ties to Pat O'Hara or ties to Charles Lutton? We don't know who his ties are to. How do we know it's not to whoever?
Chad Brinker, Anthony Robinson.
Right. It could go on and on.
One of the owners that is up in there.
It could be a personnel person. I mean, there's so many people. So for every time to say, oh, well, yeah, it's Rand Carthon. He's the mole. We don't know that. It irritates me because I just hate to see somebody that may not even be the one putting this stuff out there get fingered for the, as the guy that's, hey, that's the person. It's not cool. I mean, he's come in. Yeah, it was a low spending offseason, but he did what he could to plug pieces in and get this team to a point where it seemed like they would be competitive. Things happened. We know it's an assortment of things, but, I mean, you look, a play here, a play there, this team is in a totally different situation. So to say like, oh, and this is even like for fans I read on social media, oh, Rand must go, Vrabel must go. What? Like it's crazy. We can't be such of the microwave mindset like that. You have to give things a chance to happen. I mean, this man is six weeks into the job.
Do you think there's friction between Vrabel and Rand, or do you think everything is the collaboration is on target and on the train tracks and in good shape?
I don't think there's any friction. I mean, I haven't gotten any information to make me sway me one way or the other, but I don't think there's friction. I would imagine both of these guys being competitors. They hate losing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, once they start winning, then I think things are going to be all right. But it's just I've just noticed just like people love car wrecks. You know what I mean? And so
especially this program.
Yeah, especially you. Yeah, without a doubt. But I just think when you look at overall, and it's something that I've always said to you, you never get too high, you never get too low. You stay consistent. And the people that are the best at what they do on the football field or, in whatever sport, they're the ones that stay consistent.
Sure, Derrick Henry's, I think, a prime example of that.
Yeah,
Scores a bunch of touchdowns, has the same kind of attitude.
Yeah.
My thing on the Vrabel Carthon thing when it comes to, Rand must go or whatever it may be, Rand's not going to go. Like, they're not going to fire another general manager right after they fired a general manager who's not going to go get another job, and then they're going to have to pay 3 general managers.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to do that. If you fire Vrabel, he's going to get another job, and so you're not going to have to pay Vrabel. But I don't think they want to fire Vrabel.
Why should they?
Well, here's the thing I'll say about Vrabel. I don't know if he can handle a rebuild. Like, I don't know if
I could agree with that.
And so instead of firing when it comes to Vrabel at the end of the year, let's say that this team, and I mean, we'll touch on the Byard trade and what it means and what's next and all of that in a second, but like if they don't do much more than Byard, then I don't really know what the point of trading Byard was for just a 5th and a 6th round pick if you're not trying to load in a bunch of extra picks. So if they do go that route of trading guys and adding extra picks, they're going to lose. And Vrabel does not handle losing well at all.
Yeah, you could tell. Last year, I mean.
He can't do 2 5-12 seasons in a row.
No. It'll tear him
Dave
apart.
Campo.
You could tell he that would be hell for him. You could tell that. We're going to do the Byard trade stuff the next segment.
Yeah.
Good. I think when you look at just Vrabel himself and this whole idea of a rebuild, and you look at Rand Carthon and this idea of a rebuild, it doesn't have to be a rebuild. Like, they have pieces in place. You don't have to tear everything down, right? They're going to have almost $100 million in cap space to work with next year, and money to spend. Now, will they elect to spend all $100 million? I doubt it. But
I vote spend that and more.
Yeah, of course. But that being said, between that, a solid free agency and a good draft, this team is right back into a good situation. Look how quickly Jacksonville. Now, of course, this is a team that had a whole bunch of first-round picks. I mean, you look at that defense and everything, but I think you could turn things around quickly without having to tear everything down.
Yeah, I mean, the Christian Kirk contract got totally ripped apart when it got signed. That may be one of the better free agent contracts because
Evan Ingram.
Christian Kirk became Trevor Lawrence's guy that he needed, and in order to get him on a bad team, they had to overpay. So they overpaid, and I mean, Christian Kirk gets targeted like 12 times a game.
Yeah.
So that wasn't, and I could see the Titans going out and doing something similar. I think my thing too, though, on the Vrabel front, is that I don't know if Vrabel would want to stick around for a rebuild.
But that's the whole thing. I don't know that it has to be a rebuild. It could be a reload where you're adding a few
like next year that they're competing.
They could be right back in the mix next year.
When I woke up on Monday morning, I thought this team had a legitimate shot to get back into this thing this year, and then they traded Kevin Byard, and I lost that.
That's the whole thing that we forget. This team is without Kevin Byard. Like, before Kevin Byard, the trade, everybody's looking at it like, okay, well, they're two games behind the Jaguars. They still have 2 more games against Jacksonville. They have darn near they've played 1 AFC South game.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that could happen, even this year.
And I don't even, to that point about being games behind Jacksonville, I don't even worry about that. I mean, I just looked at it, and again, I go back to the pre-Byard trade mentality. I looked at it like 6 games in. You win this game, and then you find a way to gut out an ugly game on the road at Pittsburgh, and now you're right back to, you're 4-4, and on you go. Now, this game wouldn't have been easy, and the Pittsburgh game would have been very hard because their defense is very good, but you find a way to do that, just like the Titans did in 19, where they gutted out 2 games against a bad Tampa team and a bad Charger team, and now you're back on schedule, and then let the chips fall. Like, that's how I felt about it. But then when they traded Byard away, it was kind of like,
yeah, it does.
They think that
it deflates it some, but they believe they could still win.
By the way, I watched every game Sunday. Look at all these notes, TD. Even color coordinated by, the team.
So you watched every game that was on. Detroit, Baltimore, that was a good one. Buffalo, yeah. Atlanta should be at the top of it.
Atlanta was the first one. And then not only that, I also got baseball, watching that as well, all at the same time. So I watched all the games Sunday, and I was like, hey, they can beat Atlanta. And I was like, they can beat Atlanta. They can beat Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh's got a good defense, and the fact that Puka Nacua had the kind of game that he had for the Rams, and they still lost at home, does say, I think, a lot about the resolve of Mike Tomlin's team.
That was a late win by the Steelers, wasn't it?
Very late win.
Yeah.
But they have a horrible offense led by that offensive coordinator that should have been fired years ago.
And Matt Canada?
Yeah.
But that was your Super Bowl pick, right?
Yeah, I should have factored in Matt Canada, and I didn't. But I guess long-winded way of saying that I was not ready to quit on the season, and then they traded Byard.
I don't think they're ready to quit on the season.
TD's thoughts on the Byard trade. We'll do that on the other side. 615-737-1025. We'll hit your phones at the end of the hour, as we always do. It's the TD Power Hour, Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He breaks down every game.
The players are still going to be fine.
And knows the ins and outs of the two-tone blue.
They deal with their own position coaches.
He is ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport.
It's clear what he's doing.
TD joins every Monday at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast.
I think that's really cool how he could show both sides.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Harbor Freight, we think you shouldn't have to break the bank to get great tools. Because we know that for some of you, tools are part of the job. And for others, they're just the beginning of making, fixing, restoring, and building. That's why we make high-quality tools that are priced affordably. Because we love being the start of all your working, making, fixing, restoring, and building. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here. Are you looking for a luxury home on over an acre, 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and close to 7,000 square feet? 6551 Brownlee Drive in Nashville's Westmead neighborhood offers that and a 4th car garage, all by an award-winning builder. Text the number 1 to 615-420-2377 for pricing and info. Want your home listing to be seen and heard by home buyers? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan absolutely loves her Genesis diamond ring.
I got so many compliments as soon as I got the ring and continue to get compliments on it because it looks really pretty on my finger.
Kylie's husband Jay heard folks in the music industry raving about Genesis, but he also did a lot of homework on his own.
When it came to finding the ring, he took it very seriously. He did all the research. I think he knows more about diamonds than any man in the entire world, and that's how he landed on Genesis. He just knew that they were the best.
Jay picked out a stunning, flawless, pear-shaped diamond in an elegant setting. Got the value price Genesis is known for. And now they both tell everyone they meet about the amazing Genesis experience.
When you walk into Genesis, you can just feel the happiness. You know that they're helping find something that symbolizes the love that you have for your partner, and you can feel that as soon as you walk through the door.
It's always been you, and I've always been your wife.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high-commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You know, I'd be tempted to call their GM and start having some conversations about who else might be available. And I'm sure some of the GMs have already done that. And you'd be interested in, you know, who's not going to be there next year that you'd like to talk about. Tannehill will be gone, but I'm not interested in him right now. Derrick Henry, Harold Landry, guys with the big numbers, and some of them have pretty big dead cap numbers. But guys that don't have big dead cap numbers, like Danico Autry, I don't know if they'd let him go, but I would be calling them, seeing what they want to do.
There you go. That was Pat Kerwin. TD, you know Pat Kerwin. Pat Kerwin on Moving the Chains.
PK, yes. He is one of the references on my resume.
There you go. So it's from now on, whenever I'm sitting there saying, well, Pat Kerwin, I'm going to say, Pat Kerwin, you know that he knows ball, not only because he coached it, because he was an executive and he's been in the media for like, I don't know, 100 years, but he's on TD's resume. That's how you know he knows ball. And he says if he was a GM, he'd pick up the phone, he'd call the Titans. Let's start with the Byard trade. What was kind of your reaction to that? And I understand in sports the idea of, hey, man, it's a business, but a 5th and a 6th round pick?
You have to look at it. There's a couple ways to look at this. Now, all of the trades this year, this is the most compensation for any player so far in a trade this year. This is also, I think, one of 2 trades that involves picks for this year, not 2025.
Mm-hmm. I can only think of one. I think I can think of 2, right? Josh Dobbs.
You had Dobbs. You had Randy Gregory.
Cam Akers.
There's been a series of trades.
Sure.
It's probably like 8 or 9 trades.
And I think, so Dobbs must have gone for a 4th next year in 25.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So you look in the landscape, it's decent. But then you also have to look a little bit further to what this Titans team is facing. They had 6 draft picks. Now they have 8. Yeah, it's a 5th and a 6th round pick, but guess what they don't have to do now? They don't have to wait a couple rounds after their, to the 7th. Because what they had, I think they had 2 7s or something like that.
I think they have 3 7s. I think they have a 1, 2, 4, 7, 7, 7.
Exactly. So now you're in business a little bit earlier.
Sure.
But then along with that, let's say, I don't know, player X is on the board and they really liked him and didn't know that he was going to be available, and they're like, we want to move up. Now they have extra bullets to move up.
Sure.
So you have to look at it from that. Not as much, and we know that compensation together is equivalent to a 4th-round pick. So you have to look at it from that perspective. And then additionally, this team didn't want to pay $19 million for a safety next year. They're not doing that. Of course, they're paying $13 for a safety to not be here, but,
sure,
$6 million difference there. So you have
and
that.
The actual cash that they would owe Byard is probably like in the $14 million cash range.
Right. So you have that, but it's Kevin Byard. And you could tell, like, there's a wow in that locker room. But the good thing is just in the different, the 5 or 6 guys that I talked to, just like, after everybody walked away. And they feel like it's something that they can rally around. And even some of the guys that I've asked that in scrums, they feel they could rally around it. And it could be not a spark, but it could be something that, that could help turn things around a bit. And because everybody feels like they have to elevate their individual game to collectively make up for taking away a player like Kevin Byard. So I'm curious how that's going to work. You hate to see it happen because, it was just last year or just this summer, Byard talked about his legacy and how he wants to still be here. Me, as someone who thinks about these guys as people, I'm thinking about him missing his son and daughter. I was thinking about that this morning, like, dang, I could only imagine how he feels to wake up and not have, that's a tough situation for him. So I wish him the best. I've been in touch with him. We text a bit. I know that you put him in that situation with that defense. Yeah, Eagles, they're the best team in the NFC. I'm not taking that 49ers stuff. They're the best team in the NFC. And I think they're going back to the Super Bowl, and they'll mess around and win it because the other guy that the Eagles got from the Titans is playing ridiculous.
He's turning into Calvin Johnson.
About to break the record that Calvin Johnson set, consecutive games at 125.
He has turned it. He's not as tall as Calvin, but he is playing the same kind of game that Calvin Johnson played as Megatron. And it is incredibly difficult to watch every Sunday.
I love watching it, honestly.
I do not.
Yeah,
but
I love it.
You also knew that was a horrendous decision when they made it, and I didn't necessarily think that. What about Hopkins, Henry, Autry, Tart? I threw Azeez Al-Shaair on the list because he's got 1 year left on his deal. And, again, for a team that maybe has an injury at inside backer or feels like they need some depth, he doesn't have a lot of money to him. And then Dan Graziano, your colleague at ESPN, had kind of a smoking hot take today about the idea that the Titans could play both quarterbacks, Willis and Levis, to showcase them for a potential trade. So let's put Willis and Levis on the list too. What do you think about those potential trade options?
So Derrick Henry is an interesting one. We did a Buck. He had the report about Baltimore being interested. I talked to some people in Baltimore, and yeah, I mean, obviously anybody would love to have Derrick Henry, but they're not looking to part with picks. And they are at a point now where $5 million under the cap, they're not taking on that $5.8 to $6 million salary. So I highly doubt the Ravens. But you never know. Things change quickly. So that's that. The Bills are intriguing. I don't know that they would trade Henry to the Bills, what type of pick. Because you also have to look at, okay, these teams that you're trading. Like you trade Henry to the Bills. Yeah, it's a X round pick, but it's a very low in X round pick because the Bills are going to be good.
Yeah. It's like how the Steelers fleeced the Bears last year on the Claypool pick because it was like they got what was essentially a first round pick because Miami had their first rounder taken away. They got the 32nd pick of the draft. Mm-hmm. And they got that, but that's because they were trading with a bad team. If you're trading with a good team, you're probably going to have less there. What about Autry?
Autry is one. So we had my entry on trade options, top trade options. He was the guy. It was too common and easy to put Henry and Byers. So I went that route. And you could never have enough pass rushers. He has 4 sacks. Salary is relatively low this year. By pass rusher standards, and for what you get, he could play up and down the line. So I could see teams, desperately in need of pass rush, adding a guy like that. I don't know, like, options off the top of my head, but I could definitely see him drawing interest. Who else did you have on there?
Hopkins.
Hopkins, yeah, I don't.
Canceled his card signing that he said he didn't even know anything about.
Yeah, that's a little bizarre, right? And they said that they got it through a third party.
Right.
And he's like, oh, I'm sorry you were lied to, but hit me up. We could set something up for the city. Thought that was interesting. But I don't think Hopkins gets traded. I don't think so.
My thing is if you're going to try to make Will Levis your quarterback next year, he needs DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. What do we talk about, right? If you have a young quarterback, you have to have weapons for him. Mm-hmm. That's another reason why I don't think Henry gets traded also because you have to – man, they're going to lean on that rushing attack. If Tim Kelly knows what's right, they're going to lean on that rushing attack regardless of who is playing quarterback on Sunday. They're going to need to lean on it. And then in Pittsburgh, you're going to have to lean on it. But, man, you get a 1-yard gain and it's 2nd and 9 and you get a penalty and then, woo.
You got to ugly up the game at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you gotta muddy that game up. So I don't think that Henry or Hopkins gets traded. You have Tart on there. Mm-hmm. Tier Tart's in trade. He's back at practice. And he's someone that, if you're a team that wants to improve stopping the run, like that's a guy that you get on the phone and go call because he's one of the best run stoppers in the game right now at what, $2.5 million or something like that?
Yeah, plus Tart also gives you – see, this is where Tart maybe hurt himself a little bit by signing with Drew Rosenhaus. is because, Drew always wants to take his guys to the market,
Mm-hmm.
is that I think that you would probably get a better compensation in return for Tart if he agrees to a deal, but you can't technically agree to a deal because he's playing under the tender.
Yeah.
So that, throws another wrench into it.
Yeah.
That I think would be a little difficult. And then I've got Alshire, Willis, and Levis. They're not going to trade Levis.
I think Alshire is a good option for a team, as you mentioned, that needs plug and play. Get somebody in there that could play. He brings a really good veteran mindset and understanding.
I thought about it Monday night when I saw, now that Kevin Byard been traded, I saw Drake Greenlaw laying around on the ground grabbing his arm. I was
there
like,
you go.
hey.
You can send him back. But you had that. The showcasing Levis and Willis is interesting. This is a really, really good quarterback draft. We know that. Will they be in position? I don't know. But, I think
you have a better chance to trade Will Levis if you get a pick for a quarterback this year than next year at the draft, trading Will Levis after you've, say, picked Drake May. Then you turn around.
Like
and
you
trade
telling the Kyler Murray and Sam Rosen.
Yeah. And the
be.
reason for that is because right now, like teams, if you're picking up the phone to call a team and say, "Hey, would you be interested in Will Levis?" They're like, "Oh, well, they know he sucks." Because why else would they be picking up the phone to call him?
Right.
What'd you make of Diana, including Traylon Burks in her report that somebody had reached out to the Titans about Burks?
Well, we know the source of that, so apparently.
Well, no, we don't, TD.
We do. Come on.
That
is one that we do. We do know.
If we don't know Rappaport, then we don't know Diana.
No.
Even though we know Diana.
Right, exactly. We know the source of that. I'll just leave it at that. We know the source.
Diana and I were talking in Minnesota, and she was like, every time that you talk about me on your show, I get multiple tweets.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's because we say that you're the source, that you're the source for Vrabel.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And she did not deny that.
Right.
She did not admit to it, but she did not deny that. 615-737-1025. We'll hit your phones for TD at the end of the hour, as we always do, here on Stillman and Company. Coming up next. So what do we expect to see on Sunday against the Falcons? Stillman and Company, TD Power Hour, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Henry touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
I fully expected DeAndre Hopkins wanting a 1-year deal.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Touchdown, Tennessee.
You're going to make a trade like this.
Does he want to retire a Tennessee Titan?
The door's on the board.
Such superstar players. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whatever your destination in life, you can get there easier with a checking account from F&M Bank. At F&M, our checking accounts give you the tools you need to manage your money well, like our smart free checking account that's actually free. Because sometimes the basics are more than enough, making lives better by making banking easier. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is from Nashville's largest axe-throwing venue, Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for $25. Aim for a great time while enjoying panoramic downtown views, live music, curated cocktails from the full bar, and a Northwoods-inspired menu with a Southern twist. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville welcomes axe throwers and non-axe throwers alike. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, 648 Fogg Street.
There's lots to love from Apple right now at Verizon. Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium and more to love from Apple on us with select phone trade-in and select unlimited plans. There's no better place to get what you love from Apple than at Verizon. And there's no better time than right now. All that with the network you can really rely on. It's your Verizon. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on select 5G unlimited plans required. Less up to $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply. One offer per eligible Verizon line. Additional terms apply.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville.
The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
On the both quarterbacks playing thing.
I'm going to focus on the Falcons. Like good.
For this game.
And we're going to talk about the Falcons, Joe. Why are you holding your hands like that?
I'm trying to get a question in here.
Well, then ask the question. No, I'm just saying, like, you look ridiculous. Just ask the question, Joe.
Okay, let me ask you a question. On the two quarterback thing, would that be
against a really good defense? We have to run the football, whoever plays quarterback.
Okay.
Whether that's Ryan.
Series, or would that be like one guy's the starter and one guy's
No, we'll figure out the game plan as we work through the week. You know, we may run the plays in with them. It could be by series, could be every 2 series. It could have certain things that we like. We'll see where where Ryan is, and but again, I'm excited if Ryan can't play that both we'll get a look at both of those quarterbacks, and we'll need both of them to help us win, and Falcons are doing some really good things.
TD, were you there for that?
Yep.
Were Joe's hands out of line?
He sits in the second row on the other side. I have to look through a lot of people to see him, so no, I didn't notice.
So TD cannot confirm. It's like when the referees come by, and it's like TD was on the far judge on the other side, so he wouldn't have been able to see it anyways. Or the guy, it drives me bananas when the referee that is like on the other side of the field throws a flag on like pass interference with a referee standing in front that didn't. That drives me crazy. So at least you know your place as far as physically where you sit compared to Joe. Now, the Falcons game itself. Clearly, Vrabel wants to talk about the Falcons game. I don't know what we're going to see from the Titans on Sunday other than I have guaranteed the Falcons are going to win. And I woke up Monday morning thinking the Titans were going to win this game on Sunday. I have now guaranteed a Falcon win because the Byard trade has sent the shockwaves through that remind me of the John Robinson firing last year.
I mean, it's the departure of a cornerstone without a doubt. I don't really compare it to that, to be honest with you, because you had an idea that it was possible to happen. Right?
The Byard trade, as opposed to Robinson, which was like
Robinson being
crap.
fired was like, I normally like double confirm. I quadruple confirmed. Sent out a bunch because it's just like, nah, man, there's no way. And sure enough. So I think it's different. It's more jarring, more shocking. I can't wait to see this game on Sunday because I'm just really curious how this team is going to respond. And when it's someone that's removed from your locker room, like actually removed from the lineup, as I said a couple segments ago, as a competitor, it's just like you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So God bless the GM.
Sure.
He's not here anymore. I noticed you do more film study. I noticed, I don't know how much work you put in before.
Sure.
But I noticed you've done things to elevate your game. Now, do I agree with your takes? 1 out of every 10? No.
Well, part of the reason why I don't do the film study is because when I was working with him, I knew that if I did the film study, it'd be
But that's a reason to do film study. You get a chance to watch and learn.
There's a lot of things that like I wish that I had done that kind of stuff so I could be like, hey, what is he doing right here?
Yeah, but what I'm saying to get back on track is you had a loss that directly impacted your show.
Yeah.
So you did what you had to do to elevate your game. Elijah Molden, Terrell Edmonds, Amani Hooker, Matthew Jackson. We could go on and on. Kayvon Wallace now, Dane Cruikshank. All of those safeties in that room. Whoa, KB is gone. Man, I got to get better. I got to do better. So you could collectively have a group uplifted by feeling responsible to make up for that loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious how they're going to play. And it's not just the DB room, right? You got Ryan Tannehill coming out saying that, they have to collectively come together and make up for the loss. Derrick Henry has said it. Jeffrey Simmons, a whole bunch of guys are saying that. So I'm curious how this team responds. And you talk about Simmons' comments about who wants to be here and who's fighters. This game is going to show you who the fighters are, in my opinion.
Speaking of those Simmons comments, can you just squash something for me? There are people that have been texting in all week that are like, was Kevin Byard one of the guys that Simmons was referring to about wanting to be here or play hard? I'm like, come on.
Come on, man. Come on. If you even have to question that, you're talking about a guy who played 127 games? You talking about that guy?
The guy who was like, I'm not sitting out this one game against the Cowboys that every other person of my status is not playing to rest up for the Jacksonville game.
No.
I mean, this is, again, and I understand it's a business, and I understand Byard's on the wrong side of 30, and I understand he makes a lot of money, and I understand he plays safety. This is a tremendous loss for the Titans.
It's tremendous, yeah, from a leadership perspective.
Yes.
And it's just funny. It reminds me of, like, you ever be in the street and you'll see a guy go up to a girl or you're in a bar, wherever you are.
Sure.
You see a guy go up to a lady and, try to get her number or something, and she's like, no. He's like, you ugly anyway. It's the same situation with some of these analysts, fanalists, and fans, where now all of a sudden Kevin Byard is not a good player.
Oh, this drove me crazy when John Robinson got fired. The amount of people that were like, well, he was terrible anyways, and the week before it was like, I trust John Robinson.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't have it both ways, dude.
Yeah.
Look, that drives me nuts.
Is he the same player as he used to be? No, clearly not.
But
he's still a very good player.
I think, too, Trevor made a point after the Ravens game in which I asked him why the pass rush wasn't hitting the quarterback. And he said, because right now they're not covering at all in the secondary. And he said, what happens is you'll see Byard late on a play, and people will say, oh, Byard should have made that play. And he goes, what I see is Byard covering for somebody else's mistake.
Mm-hmm. Whereas he's going towards a place that he really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, like the Zach Moss touchdown. It's like, well, where was Byard on that? Byard was doing what the game plan said to do in case the quarterback keeps the football, is that he's got to be there so that Richardson doesn't go run for 65 yards or touchdown.
And that's one of the things that I'm going to miss about Kevin Byard. I sat in his locker and we talked for like about 5 minutes about that play. For like 5 minutes. Because I had asked him, I pulled him aside, asked him, how they managed to get him out of position and how much a running quarterback impacts a defense. Mm-hmm. And we went through 5 minutes or so. And that's why the next week I made sure that I put that in Whiteboard Wednesday, because I wanted it to be shown that, hey, you know what? Kevin Byard didn't make a bad play. This is how that quarterback that could pull it and run, you have to assign somebody to him. It's 11-on-11 football, true.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was obvious from the way Vrabel talked about it going into the game about how they were going to approach the quarterback. All right, I want to leave some time for the questions for TD, especially since this is like the last question session before the trade deadline. 615-737-1025. We'll get right to them coming up next. Let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. That's right. Hiller has been taking care of my home for years, and they can do the exact same for you. I absolutely love Hiller. If you've got some things around your home you've been putting off of fixing, like HVAC maintenance or a clogged bathroom drain, Hiller has huge discounts this month. When the temperature drops and you start using your heater for the first time, you do not want to be dealing with breakdowns and issues. This month, Hiller is offering half off HVAC tune-ups, and Hiller is bringing back their $99 drain cleaning special. For just $99, Hiller will get you back up and running. These deals last only this month, so be sure to call now. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services free guarantee, and I say call now, but you can also just go online to happyhiller.com, and you can just, boom, put it right into the phone, and within 5 minutes, you'll have an appointment. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue are 1025 The Game's official home for Predators watch parties. Catch all the games at Brewhouse and enjoy great specials on Blue Note whiskey and Black Abbey beer.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment, the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $800 on qualifying implements. Now through October 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
Actor Portrayal, based on a real patient experience.
I'm Mike. I'm a husband, proud father of 2, work my butt off 6 days a week, some nights too. When my family or my company needs me to make it happen, I make it happen. But a few months ago, I started having trouble making it happen, in the bedroom. I tried some pills online, but they didn't work. Honestly, I thought about throwing in the towel on my sex life, but I'm not that old. I still want to enjoy intimacy with my wife. Like that poet said, I don't want to just go gently into that good night. So I went to the Tennessee Men's Clinic in Franklin. Got some lab work done, was prescribed some meds, and wow, it made it happen. I can't say enough about them. Their providers took care of me, followed up, and made sure I had a treatment plan that actually works. It's awesome. If I were you, and you're like me, I'd give them a call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. If you're like most guys, they'll make it happen for you too.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
Teddy's Tavern, downtown's newest bar with an old Nashville feel, is conveniently located across the street from Bridgestone Arena and just blocks away from the pedestrian bridge. Get a taste of the new brunch menu to fuel your Titans Day pride on game day. Pre-game specials from 9 a.m. till kickoff when the Titans play at home include 2-for-1 draft beers, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. Teddy's Tavern is where you want to be before every Titans home game, so come downtown early and meet me at Teddy's.
Keeping it local.
The Titans get a big win. Well, Derrick Henry's on the field. It's like, all right, what's going to happen?
And fun.
Bad time to get Florida. They're going to be mad. Oh, my goodness.
Every day, it's Chase McCabe.
I was sitting here going, I think I'm going to watch Batman 1989 tonight.
And Big Joe Dubin.
That's your plan for tonight? Probably, yeah. I need a night.
The Chase and Big Joe Show. Brought to you by Regal Realty Group. Weekdays at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
TD Power Hour, time for questions. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, unless you have a thought.
Quick thought, 2 quick thoughts. It is really cool that Kevin Byard's locker in the Eagles locker room is the one that was formerly occupied by Brian Dawkins. I thought that was cool.
Is Brian Dawkins in the Hall of Fame yet?
Yes, he made it in 3 years ago. Then one other thought is you go back and watch that Eagles-Dolphins game, you see a lot of cover 2. That's more than the first. I saw a tweet by Fran Dunphy. They played cover 2 37% of the time in Week 7 against the Dolphins. That was a high for the season and a high for all teams that week. That will give you a good opportunity to kind of, if you want to do some film study, look at Terrell Edmonds, how he could possibly fit into the Titans defense. On that note, yeah.
Texter says, TD, do you think Vrabel is the type of guy that would start Willis for one play, let him hand the ball off, and then put Levis in for the rest of the game to prove to Ian Rappaport that his report was wrong?
You know what? I could see him doing something like that. But at the same time, I don't believe that he would because his focus and bottom line is on winning. So I think it's unlikely.
Texter says, TD, what are your thoughts about the offensive line going forward, and do you think Jared is crazy for never letting go of the fact that Peter Skoronski is not going to play left tackle?
Well, you're not alone in never letting go of that. I've let go of that a long time ago, but, I think when you look at a player, he plays two different positions, and you feel like he is a much better player at guard, play him at guard. I think they're doing the right thing. The Titans aren't the only team that would have done that, so you do have that. As far as what was the other part? Offensive line overall. I mean, look, Petit Ferrer is going to be interesting. He's going to have to stop getting caught, out of position, like flat-footed and off balance, and getting, to keep him from getting run over like Clowney did a couple times. So Jadeveon Clowney in Baltimore, against Baltimore, but I think if this line could actually get some time together, I feel the right side is pretty solid. Of course, they're helping that side too, with Hubbard and Brunskill. Aaron Brewer is a much better run blocker than he gets credit for, so you have that. And, Skoronski's their best offensive lineman, so just it's got to get better. It's got to get better,
I worry about Petit Ferrer, but it can't be worse than what it was.
Yeah, Diller he's Gary Carter, man. He's a catcher.
Yeah, exactly. Tyler says, hey, TD, I know people don't think you can know what you have in Will Levis from him playing the rest of the season, but I disagree. You may not know for sure if he will be good, but I feel like you can know right away if someone doesn't have what it takes to be a star if he plays poorly. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
That's a great point. And the San Francisco 49ers, they drafted a guy out of Hofstra by the name of Giovanni Carmazzi.
It's the second quarterback taken in that draft that Tom Brady ended up getting drafted in.
And
Bill Walsh.
They knew immediately in that preseason game, like, oh, not a good pick.
That'd be like putting me at quarterback.
So there are things that you could tell. You throw Levis out there, there are things that you can tell. It may not always show up like in the box score, but there's things that you could tell. How is he when the stuff hits the fan? Does he melt, or is he like, yo, we got to do better and stand up to it?
Here's where I would say I have a hard time with judging quarterbacks right away. Tua, he looked like a bust right away. Like, remember, the owner was trying to get Sean Payton and Tom Brady in there, and they benched him for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, Steve Young is kind of the perfect example of a guy who, looked terrible at the beginning and then went on to the Hall of Fame. Drew Brees.
Situations where
they took Phillip Rivers because they thought Drew Brees was not the future.
He had that shoulder, too. That's why
they took
ultimately.
that's why they
that's why they ultimately that gave them their out.
Yeah. But they had taken Rivers after 2 years because they thought Brees stunk. And so that makes you nervous. And then, TD, when Vince Young was a rookie and won Rookie of the Year,
I remember.
He was the hottest dude in this town.
Yeah, I remember he had that big shoot on the cover of Madden, and, he did it up that year. But
they were selling shirts at the mall that were just a picture of his face. And, they were on fire. Like, you could not get one of those.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not a full picture that you get, but you could find out things that you can't find out if they're not in the game.
Sure.
And I think that's the thing. And that's what the Eagles found out. When Jalen Hurts started against the Saints and beat that Saints team that was really good in place of Wentz when Wentz was injured, they found out right away, wow, this dude's a leader. That's why Miles Sanders, after the game, he said, this is the leadership from the quarterback position that we've needed. Excuse me? You have a $100 million quarterback. You're saying this after the rookie started. So there's things that you could find out.
You know what's crazy about that, though, when it comes to Hurts? And I trust the reporting on a lot of this.
He was on Talking with TD, by the way.
Hurts was. It was very good interview. I remember it during COVID.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating about the Hurts situation is that They put Hurts in there in place of Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wentz was the one who was really upset about it. They fired Doug Peterson over it. They hired Sirianni to work with Wentz. Wentz still didn't want to come back. They traded Wentz away because Wentz didn't want to be there. Then they made the playoffs with Jalen. Then they still weren't sold on Jalen because they were trying to get Russell Wilson. And it's crazy to me that, like, they wanted Wentz over Jalen. They wanted Russell over Jalen. And a year later, not, 5 years down the road, a year later, they gave him $200 million.
Yep, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now you look conversely what the 49ers did. Brock Purdy plays, 7 games?
Yep.
And they're like, that's the guy. And they trade away the guy that they traded buku picks for to get in position to draft.
I love Purdy, and I don't think he's that good.
I don't think he's
I don't think they'll miss a beat with Darnold going in there.
I think they may be better.
I think that too. Because I'm actually a Sam Darnold appreciator.
He just turns the football over too much. He does that too much. Now, I will say I saw Nick Wagner, the ESPN NFL Nation 49ers reporter. He said Purdy was in practice today in the open portion. So that's good for Purdy, at least.
See, I think Darnold is an example of ruining a quarterback. That the Jets did whatever they could. Eric has been waiting patiently and is up next with TD. What's up, Eric?
Hey, Jared. This is both for you and TD. And, Jared, I think by now you realize you're an acquired taste.
In more ways than one, yes.
Yeah, and you were just talking about the GM. You had that savvy, older, wiser person. And, TD, I'm going to ask you to take one for the team.
Uh-oh.
Not a full sacrifice, but you guys need to get together, have a conversation about you joining up on a regular basis, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I might be able to give you the weekend off so you can rest. But when you guys are together, you have, I think, the best radio in Nashville.
Wow.
And
Thank you, Eric.
you have a calming effect on each other, and I think it's excellent radio. I'm not hearing a bunch of stuff about something that has nothing to do with sports. You guys talk sports, and I'm totally serious. Think about 2 days a week, TD. That's a lot for you to put into Jared, but it's so good.
Wait a minute. There's no sacrifice on my part.
Hey, Ian, take Eric's number down. I'm going to put him in contact with my agent.
I will.
He's going to hire CSE agency is going to hire you to be my personal guy, man. I appreciate it.
I can do it.
What's your question, Eric?
That's my question. That's it. I want you to seriously consider it. You'll take over all the ratings. Everybody will come your way. Just 2 or 3 days a week, T-Day. I don't want to do it to you the whole week. But
well, we'll have to talk to Chase, see what we could do.
Do you think you could do a whole week of my conspiracy theories?
No.
That's 20 hours.
I go nuts. So when I have my daughters, when I pick them up from school, I pick my one up. She gets off at 3, and then I drive to the other school to pick my other daughter up because they go to separate high schools. And that 3 to 4:30 commute for them, I look at their faces, and and sometimes they be like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
Why is he always talking about everybody like that?
Yeah.
It is hilarious, man.
I mean, I've learned, like, hey, my mind goes a lot of places. And I thank everybody that goes with me down the journey, down the road. Kenny is up next here. Kenny, you're on with TD. What's up, Kenny?
Fella's doing great. When Derek Mason was here, you remember they couldn't get him on the field except to return punts. And defensive back told me this to my face. He said the whole defensive backfield went to the coach and said, get this guy on the field. He's driving us nuts. He can play. Has there been any undercurrent about how good Will Levis is from any, you couldn't quote a player, but has any of them been looking around saying, man, we can't wait to see this guy? Have a good day.
Thank you, Kenny.
That's a good question. I haven't gotten any of that, but in any of the receivers that I talk to, wow, I just thought about that. I don't talk to the receivers as much as I used to.
Well, one thing I would say is that, if let's say Levis was dominating on the scout team, because I heard Charles Robinson tell Joe and Robbie that Fred Warner was the first one to go up to the Niner coaches and is like, yo, Brock Purdy is legit.
Yeah.
And so let's say that the Titans defenders thought that Will Levis was pretty good. Like they thought, oh, this guy's the man. Like, that's a no-no in Vrabel's book for one of these guys to be sitting there talking about the third-string quarterback.
Well, also, Vrabel himself has said that, he tells Willis and Levis, but in this case he was talking specifically about Levis, that he tells him, the card may tell you to go here with the football, but you go where you need to go. The only receiver, actually, I think about it, that I talk to consistently is Hopkins. Really, I mean –
the other guys aren't good enough for TD.
No, not at all.
I'm kidding.
Burks has had his injuries. Phillips is available here and there. Mason Kinsey, I would say Kinsey too. But, Westbrook, Akine, and Chris Moore, I don't talk to as much.
The Kinsey family is very, very, very.
They're awesome.
Very big fans of TD.
Yeah, they're awesome too. They're great people, man. And Mason is a great dude as well. So, yeah.
TD, great stuff as always. I know we got a brand new Talking with TD out. You and Chris Sanders react to the Kevin Byard trade.
Yeah, we react to that. I got Michael Rothstein on, Falcons, ESPN reporter, and we got some good stuff on Bijan Robinson that I think people want to check out.
Did you hear the gambling conspiracy theory about Bijan Robinson?
No.
Ian, you got that Hutton conspiracy theory that he said. Now, Hutton was saying, this was on the Midday Show, that this is just the conspiracy theory, not his conspiracy theory, but is the Bijan Robinson one carry at the end of the game with 33 seconds left conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory is that carry and those snaps took place in order to make sure that Vegas and the sports books and the apps that the NFL is in partnership with could say that there was no trying to underline message of not being on the injury report with a headache the night before and not feeling right. And that no refunds would have to be issued on bets or parlays placed with the Falcons last week and the Bucs. That's the conspiracy theory.
What do you think of that?
Interesting.
I have a take saved up for the next hour on that conspiracy theory, so I'm going to hold off on that. But TD, great stuff as all. Oh, there is one text in here I do want to read for you.
Uh-oh.
It started at the very, very beginning of the of it saying, TD, Jared needs an adult in the room, and I believe that you are sending a message that Rand Carthon is not the leak to Ian Rappaport.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't believe he is.
Okay.
I don't believe he is.
That's what's great, because that leads us to our next segment. Because Charles Robinson talked about this morning on Robbie and Joe, and now Inspector Stillman may have to be on the loose.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Thank you.
The X-Files.
Exactly. TD, good to see you as always.
All right, good to see you.
Stillman and Company continues. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Green right, Fox 2 run, double K. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, tight.
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
It's time to celebrate this fall and unleash the beast. Monster Brewing proudly presents to you Beast Unleashed. 0 caffeine, 0 sugar, all the adult beverage fun. The Beast is unleashed with great taste, bold familiar flavors, and 6% alcohol. Go wild with Mean Green, White Haze, Peach Perfect, and Scary Berries. Don't fear the Beast. Enjoy Beast Unleashed at your next tailgate or football party. Drink responsibly. Must be 21 and over.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of your Nashville Predators. The Tennessee Titans were back at practice today, getting ready to host Atlanta on Sunday. The NFL Network is reporting that rookie quarterback Will Levis is expected to get the start this week while Ryan Tannehill recovers from his ankle injury. Levis spoke about some of the progress he's made since the start of training camp.
Just comfort, just getting used to this team, getting used to playing in this league and everything that comes with it, and just with every practice rep that I get, whether it was on show team or with the ones, I'm trying to get the most out of it, and I think that just all those reps have built up, and still got a long way to go, but it definitely improved since I first got here.
Ryan Tannehill, tight end Josh Wiley, and defensive back Roger McCreary all did not practice today. Wide receiver Traylon Burks remained a full participant. Titans versus Falcons is set for noon on Sunday. In tonight's Thursday night football matchup, the Bills are hosting the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield and wide receiver Chris Godwin are both listed as questionable but are expected to play. Kickoff is set for 7:15 tonight. And some NHL news, Ottawa Senators forward Shane Pinto has been suspended for 41 games after violating the league's gambling policy. The Nashville Predators will return to action Saturday when they host Toronto. And in some baseball news, Astros manager Dusty Baker announced his retirement. The World Series gets underway tomorrow night. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And the score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. TD says he cannot do 5 days a week of my conspiracy theories. I cannot blame him for that. Sometimes I can't do 5 days a week of my conspiracy theories. But in my defense, we don't ever have conspiracy theories about the Predators anymore, do we? Because Barry Trotz always tells us what's what. So if the Titans would just be a little bit more transparent, we wouldn't have to dig down through every little nook and cranny. But the nook and cranny that we are digging down through right now have to do with Mike Vrabel's comments yesterday in regards to the Ian Rappaport report on NFL Network Wednesday morning that Will Levis will be the starting quarterback on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. And Mike Vrabel, you could just tell, we call it Vrabelese, was not very happy about that report.
Mike, I heard you say yesterday that you're working both Will and Malik if Ryan isn't able to play. But if it's going to be Will as your starter on Sunday, doesn't it make sense to give him all the reps with the ones this week?
I never said that Will was going to be the starter. Both of them will play if Ryan can't. We'll see how Ryan feels. He may do a little bit of work later in practice today. But that's how we are. That's where we're at right now.
Okay. Hey, I never said that. I don't know where that report came from. And Jason Fitz came on the show yesterday. He was talking about how, oh, boy, I tell you, those coaches are not very happy. And then TD was just on, and TD says he does not think, and he sounded pretty convicted. That's a word, right? He sounded pretty convicted or convinced that Rand Carthon was not Ian Rappaport's source for the report on Wednesday. Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports senior NFL insider, was on Robbie and Joe, as he is every week, and he said this morning about those Vrabel comments.
Look, anytime a coach and GM, and I'm going to be very careful about how I say all this, but I will say if you're watching something and a coach and a GM don't get hired together, you tend to just sort of watch from afar just how things function, because obviously you're like, what you end up watching is the dynamics of how players are added, how certain, coaching decisions get made, but also how news comes out. And I was a little surprised that the news came out. Obviously, Ian Rappaport comes out and says, Will Levis is going to start. It's pretty normal. And to me, I think when Mike Vrabel stepped up and pushed it back, then you're sitting there going, why is he not, he's addressing this in a way that's suggestive that it wasn't him. The way this one unfolded made me feel like something happened where clearly there were two people who weren't necessarily, or multiple people who weren't necessarily on the same page here in terms of how the information came out, and that's never a great look.
Okay, so Charles says multiple people were not on the same page. Ian, if you could, the first Fitz one that we played today about the coaches not wanting the Levis news, this is what Jason Fitz said on our program yesterday.
It was very clear to multiple people that the coaches did not want it to get out that Will Levis was starting. So now you just got to do the math in my mind. Like, if you just do the simple math that the coaches made it clear and that Vrabel made it clear what he said, that, I didn't say that and they didn't want that to get out, I think this is a clear indication that the team itself behind closed doors is not on one page. And this is the worst possible situation you can ask for from a fan when you start looking at your team, because if your GM and your front office, scouts, and everybody's not on the same page as the coach, that's when nobody's looking out for each other. Like, that's the thing that has to be fixed right now, above and beyond everything else with who is actually starting. I think it's more significant for the future of the franchise that one side obviously wanted a secret held and the other side obviously didn't.
Okay, so let's just operate off of what we've been told. Two different people say there are multiple people, whoever they are, and one of them's Vrabel, multiple people that are not on the same page. Somebody in there that has the authority to know that Will Levis is the starting quarterback on Sunday for the Titans, which means Vrabel has to tell that person, or Tim Kelly has to tell that person, that somebody who has that level of authority is not on the same page with Vrabel. Now, TD asked why we immediately assume that it's Rand Carthon, and I said because, well, how many other people are there that would fit that mold? But then TD says he doesn't think that Rand Carthon is the leak to Rappaport. So, how many other people do we think there are that would know the game plan on Wednesday morning before it's presented to the players? And this has to be, Joe said this earlier today, and Joe Rexroad is a capital J journalist. This has to be, Joe says, for Rappaport to have that report, that he believes that there has to be a source inside the building that Ian Rappaport has. Number one, the owner. I think Amy would know who the starting quarterback's going to be, right? If she asked. But then it's not just Amy. There's Amy, there's Kenneth, there's Barkley, and I only know that because Mike always talks about them every time he talks about ownership. So that's three people that it could be. And I hate to say this, if it's ownership, there's nothing you can do about that. You can go be as big of a pissy pants as you want, mad that they spilled your secret and made your job harder because they're giving the Atlanta Falcons info that you don't want them to have. That you're never going to be able, you cannot control the owner. Floyd actually told me that one of the keys is to not tell the owner anything. He said, because you can never, he said, everybody else that worked for me, I could fire. I can't fire the owner. So that's the first thing. The second would be, and Fitz rules out the coaching staff, right? When Fitz said the coaches over and over again. So we're taking Tim Kelly out of this. We're taking Charles London out of this. We're taking Pat O'Hara out of this. Do you think that the other guys in the front office, the Chad Brinkers and the Anthony Robinsons and the I'm trying to think who else, do we think that those guys are cued into the game plan that early?
Probably not.
So it's the owner and ownership.
Maybe Chad Brinker.
Ran. We would think Ran would be cued in, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, Ran. How many other people would know? That would be, as Joe said, inside the building.
What about like president? Non-football stuff.
So like Burke
Nihil.
Right. Could Burke be in? I mean, here's the thing though, right? Like, I don't think Burke Nihil concerns himself with that stuff.
Yeah, there's really no reason to if you're the president. Like, it doesn't really matter for your job.
I think Burke is so busy with everything else. I mean, I think Burke is a busy freaking dude. So I don't think he concerns himself with that stuff, like in this sense, like for this game. Now, if this were like the AFC Championship game, I'm sure Burke would probably be, hey, Mike, what are we doing at quarterback in this game? But then again, those guys may be so afraid to, screw with the coach the week of the game that they may not say anything. I just don't think there's that many people that know. Now, the one thing that I did think about when John Robinson got fired, so this predates Ran Carthon. When John Robinson got fired, I had it before the news broke. Ian, you remember that. Because we were in a group chat, me, you, Caroline, and Chase. And I sent into the group chat, I go, guys, we might have a situation on our hands right here. And one of you guys said, what? I said, John Robinson. And about 5 or 6 minutes later, Chase texted in back and said, oh my God, they fired his ass. And so I had it, but I can't just put out there, John Robinson's fired if I don't know for sure. And so I reached out to the Titans, and I was like, hey, but nobody over there was answering because, they got so much. And it was Rappaport that broke the story. Now, that predates Ran Carthon. And we know that it wasn't Vrabel because if it was Vrabel, who do we think it would have been that would have broken the news? Diana Rossini. So there's just not that many people, if we're ruling out the coaching staff, there's just not that many people that it could be other than ownership or Ran or maybe one of Ran's associates like Brinker or Anthony Robinson if they would have been let in to that extent.
But they weren't here last year.
They were not.
So
do we think this could be ownership?
Possible holdover of some sort.
Like Vin Marino, the cap guy?
Nah, he wouldn't do that.
No. Vin's been around too long. He's too...
But just some type of common person that could be in both regimes. I'm not sure who that could be, if it's going to be part of the football staff.
Do you think Vrabel knows who it is?
He probably does, yeah, or has a pretty good idea.
So you think when Vrabel gets all upset about the fact that, and clearly he's upset about it, if Charles Robinson knows he's upset about it, if Jason Fitz knows that he's upset about it, he is very clearly upset about it. And you think that he has an idea of who it is?
I mean, probably.
But see, here's the thing. If it's not Ran or ownership, then whoever it is getting fired. Anybody who is not Ran or ownership is below Vrabel, and thus, if they screw with Vrabel's game plan, Vrabel's going to fire him.
And he finds out he could, just fire him right there.
I remember one time, Floyd loved, the old equipment manager, Haas, who Vrabel fired. Floyd loved him, and he loved the field maintenance guy, Terry Porch. I mean, loved him. Would take a bullet for those guys. And I remember asking him one time, I'm like, you love these guys. And he looked at me and he goes, because they do anything it takes to help you win a game. And so if you're going to Ian Rappaport and you're telling him what the game plan is when you're trying to throw the Falcons off, you're doing the exact opposite of what it is clearly that football guy through and through Floyd Reese held so near and dear to his heart. And so there just can't be that many people that it could be. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in on this, and I'm sure many of you do. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. And coming up next, the one thing that I hope Vrabel knows, and he probably does, and this would really frustrate him. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When you want all the
Going in and the score. Blast the score. He risks one, they score.
and don't forget the
Oh, what a stop. Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
when all you want is Smashville. We have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics in Springfield at Northcrest Medical Center offers world-class orthopedic care. This location specializes in general orthopedics, arthroscopic surgery, sports medicine, hip, knee, and shoulder. Get back to enjoying life sooner by scheduling your appointment at tn.houston.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics in Springfield is conveniently located at the Northcrest Medical Center. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue is your home for hockey action all season long. They are Predators approved and all the games are on, and they'll even give you the sound. Get awesome game day drink specials on Blue Note Bourbon and Black Abbey Beer. When you think hockey, think Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, or Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue. Go Preds!
Hal Gill here for my good friends at Dunkin'. I get my Dunks every morning. I grew up with Dunkin' in Boston, and it's been my favorite ever since. Fall in love with Dunkin's pumpkin coffee, lattes, muffins, and donuts. Made with their signature high-quality coffee, each sip and bite is sure to delight. Perfect for those cool autumn mornings or as a sweet treat any time of day. You won't be able to resist the delicious pumpkin flavor. Get pumped for pumpkin. Stop by Dunkin' today.
Jewelry business, it's in my blood. I've been doing it all my life, and it's my passion.
Meet Daniel Sabalas, a third-generation jeweler at Genesis Diamonds.
This line of work, it's all about honesty and trust. It's about building relationships.
And that's what drew Daniel to Genesis, where it's all about education, transparency, and respect for each customer.
It's based on a family business mentality, and that's how we are. We're here to educate, to guide you, and we make it very easy. So we really go out of our way to educate customers in the right way. There's no stress level, there's no tension. The customer can feel that.
All this while providing the guaranteed best value price.
I've never seen a company that has the best price like this that I've seen anywhere. We are a powerhouse of diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds. No commission salespeople, no pricing games, no risk, no pressure, no cutting corners.
Genesis Diamonds is going to give you the best price, best quality, guaranteed, no matter what.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
There's lots to love from Apple right now at Verizon. Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium and more to love from Apple on us with select phone trade-in and select unlimited plans. There's no better place to get what you love from Apple than at Verizon. And there's no better time than right now. All that with the network you can really rely on. It's your Verizon. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on select 5G unlimited plans required. Less up to $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply. One offer per eligible Verizon line. Additional terms apply.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This goes back to the draft, too, right? I mean, we talked about the C.J. Stroud stuff at the draft of that got out, and then the Texans did what they did, and now they've got C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, and the Titans didn't make the trade with Arizona at the draft. Like, we talked about that at the time. And you're right. Like, if Vrabel and the coaching staff, were hell-bent on this not getting out, that Levis was starting on Sunday, and whatever they're trying to do with the quarterbacks, whether that's the two-quarterback system alternating drives, whether it is just certain packages that they have for Malik Willis, and they didn't want Atlanta to have some sort of foreknowledge of Levis starting it, whatever it is, if that's the way you're approaching things, and yet it's still getting out and that somebody else inside the building is leaking it through the media, like, Vrabel is going to be very upset by that.
Hey, that was Robbie this morning. You're damn right Vrabel's going to be very upset about that. And guess what? Vrabel is very upset about that. Now, Ed texts in. Our phones are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ed says, have you ever considered that it could be Will Levis's agent who is leaking the info? And then Ed, he's very snarky here at the end, says, wow, there's a shocker. And that's not the only one I've gotten like this. That's like, oh, it could be Levis's people that are leaking the information. It could be Levis's agent. It could be, whatever. Two things at play here. Number one, if Will Levis is leaking the game plan and it hurts the team, wouldn't you bench him? Like, if you're Vrabel and you've named Will Levis the starter, and 5 seconds later it gets out that Will Levis has been named the starter, and you know it came from Will Levis, don't you call Will Levis back into the office and tell Will Levis you're benched for violating my trust? Don't you think you should do that? Secondly, Joe Rexrode this morning, and honestly, I wish I had cut this so I could take this out of my back pocket every time somebody brings up that this could be his agent or his parents or whatever. Joe Rexrode, capital J journalist, Joseph Robinette Rexrode Jr. He said that Ian Rappaport, by like the standards that the capital J journalists operate under, that he has to have a source inside the Titans building in order to be able to run with it.
Yeah, he kind of pretty much said that Rap Sheet would have to get something other than just the agent to go with a story like this.
Well, somebody said Kevin Byard must have told them after the trade. Kevin Byard doesn't know? First of all, let me tell you this. I have no idea what's on the list of Kevin Byard's concerns. I have a pretty good idea, though, a much better idea than you guys do, and I'm going to tell you that who is starting at quarterback this week for the Titans against the Falcons is not on them. That I can promise you. Texter says, there's so much talk about who leaked the Levis start. Maybe I'm stupid, the texter asks. But my question is why? How does anybody benefit from this? Great question, texter.
I was thinking about this because we brought this up yesterday, and I heard Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace and Derek talking about this, and I kind of think Derek hit the nail on the head here when he was talking about Vrabel is doing this. It's not so much for Atlanta. It's for mostly probably Malik Willis and his willingness to check out if he knows that Will Levis is going to be the starter. It is Vrabel's way of keeping Will Levis and Malik Willis on their toes at the top of their game and ready and not wanting to make either of them feel comfortable in their starting position and make them both work and feel uncomfortable throughout the week.
Problem is that once you put the game plan in, they know who the starting quarterback is.
So the football guys do stuff like this.
Yeah, but once you put once the game plan gets put in, they know who the starter is, which happens on Wednesday morning.
So there's probably to some degree, that have a feel, but maybe they don't know 100%. Maybe they're both taking equal amount of reps throughout practice.
Now, if that's the case, that is stupid. Like, if that's what's happening, that the Titans are so afraid of Malik checking out that they give half the reps to Will Levis before his first NFL start when he's played 30 snaps in the preseason football in his career. Now, that is incredibly stupid.
So I think it has to do more with the two quarterbacks.
I think it has nothing to do with that.
Than it has to do with Atlanta tricking, because you're not going to trick Atlanta.
Ian, I think that's a terrible take.
Okay. Well, I kind of agreed with Derek.
I vehemently disagree with it. I think the second that they put the game plan in, they know who the starting quarterback is, which I will say kudos to Malik and Levis, because I watched their media availabilities yesterday that the Titans put online. I watched those like a Talmudic scholar. I mean, I was like Bill Nye the Science Guy with one of those like lenses, like looking right there at it, trying to say, what'd they say? And neither guy, I think, hinted away at anything. So you gave him credit there. But I think the reason why, when the texter asks who would benefit from this, it's the relationships. Those things are important. I mean, I always felt like Floyd's number one insider that he was closest with is the late John Clayton. And he used to tell me that John Clayton had the best information. He used to say that all the time to me. John Clayton has the best information. And around draft time, he would probably give John a little bit in order to get a little bit from John. So he'd have to see what John knew. They had to have a relationship. When the Seahawks had got their general manager search down to 2, John Schneider and Floyd Reese, it was John Clayton at ESPN who reported that the Seahawks had taken it down to 2. When Floyd interviewed for the Kansas City job, it was John Clayton at ESPN who reported that. You see what I'm saying? That's where the benefit comes in. All these people have their guys, and their guys, it's all relationships, and it's all, you talk about how, you're probably sitting in the car being like, man, this is drama and gossip talk, and I want to hear football talk. Trust me, nobody dramas and gossips better than the football people. You can trust me on that one. Texter said, who told Jared that John Robinson was getting fired? Maybe the same guy who leaked the quarterback situation. I highly doubt that. The guy who told me that J-Rob was getting fired was the same person that told me that Kevin Byard refused to take the pay cut and wanted to be released. And we saw how that worked out. Which, by the way, there was a whole lot of something behind all of that in the end, especially considering what the Titans got in return for Kevin Byard. Texter says it's sad. Vrabel doesn't know who the starter is. No game plan by Wednesday. And yes, I think Vrabel would start Willis to hand the ball off and then put Levis in out of spite because he is that petty. I'm not putting anything past Vrabel at this point. I mean, if Vrabel were, at this point, I talk about this like as a fan and for you guys. Like, this team needs a win in the worst way on Sunday. Vrabel needs a win in the worst way. If they don't win any more games, he's going to be incredibly insufferable. And if they turn this thing around and they get to the playoffs, he is going to be equally insufferable one way or another. One texter thinks you're right, Ian. Texter thinks your take. So hold on. Let me get this straight. Your take again, which I think is totally just, I want to make sure that I'm not getting your take wrong.
Well, I heard Derek say it, so I'm trying to translate here.
But you agree with Derek's take?
I think I did, yeah, when I heard him talk about it.
That the Titans are not naming a starter because if they name a starter, they think Malik will mope.
Well, he pretty much just said to keep the quarterbacks on their toes and keep them from checking out and wanting them to prove throughout the week who's playing the best and keep the competition open kind of stuff. And to me, I kind of took it as like, hey, if you name Malik or if you name Will Levis the starter, do you worry about Malik Willis checking out and all that kind of stuff? So I thought it was mostly not so much to try and fool Atlanta, but more so just to keep Levis and Willis on their toes and prepared for the week more so.
See, I think they know who's starting. I think the quarterbacks know who is starting at this point in the week.
Just based on the play calls and all that kind of stuff?
And practice reps. And, it's like TD said, the stretching. Levis was stretching first. Willis was stretching second. Which, that does matter because normally the guy who stretches first is...
usually QB1.
It's Tannehill. And so in this case, that's... So I think they've known. Now, maybe last week they didn't know, but this week I think they know.
Possible, yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I'm a little torn here. on one end, again, a bunch of your phones to get to, and I didn't even get to the take that I wanted to have this segment, like the thing about, like, let's just say that TD's wrong, and I think TD seemed very convinced that Rand Carthon is not the source. And I will say that has really, if I was at 90% thinking Rand Carthon was the source, I think I've probably dropped it down now to like 30% after how convinced TD was that Rand Carthon is not the source here. But I do want to yell about Harbaugh. We'll give that take, and then we'll yell about Harbaugh. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company, 1025-1063. The Game. Let me see if there is something here to tell you guys all about on today's program. Yes, this week's Nashville's Best Deal is from Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, Nashville's largest axe throwing venue, located downtown at 648 Fogg Street.
Every day we are live and local.
You need to give Ron Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators. And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Get Black Friday deals earlier than ever at Electronic Express. Get the gifts you want and save up to 40% throughout the entire store. Beat the crowds and save on hundreds of 4K TVs, appliances, computers, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing on items like an LG 75-inch 4K TV, now only $649, or a Samsung French door refrigerator, only $13.99. Black Friday deals are here at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey home buyers, TJ Anderson here with More Great Homes. Located just west of Nashville in a tranquil setting of Kingston Springs Ranchettes neighborhood, 1617 Wildlife Trail offers 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a 2-car garage, and a 1-year builder warranty, all for under $450,000. Contact my team today at tjandersonhomes.com for more info. Want your home listing to be seen and heard by home buyers? Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred by clients so often. TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
In any work environment, culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. Hey, this is General Manager Sean Ford with Cromwell Media. And this month, we have several celebrating their anniversary working with us. From our corporate office, Janice Russell is celebrating 33 years and Dorothy Black, 29. Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad, the duo that make up our morning show on 102.5 The Game, are celebrating 3 years. And Connor Newt, who works for 102.5 behind the scenes, is celebrating 1 year with us as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
When I started talking to national people, the conversation I got a couple of times was like, hey, that vibe's not good. Like there is an issue between the coaching staff and everybody else. So like they're not all on one page. And that was pretty clear in this situation. So I think there is an issue. And once you start getting into this, like this is the thing that we always have to deal with when your team starts losing. You got to figure out which side you're going to be on for all of this. So if you're Rand Carthon and you came in and you took this job, you want control over the way the roster is going to be built. If you're Mike Vrabel, you want control over everything for as long as we can all remember to some degree in a way that doesn't actually get you in trouble for having control. So it's like this weird dynamic between the two of them. It's got to get fixed. But the question is, who fixes it? Who within the organization is going to put everybody down at the table at the same time to sing Kumbaya? Like I think there's a very serious issue inside that building between people that work for the Titans, and I'm not talking about the players.
There you go. That was Fitz. Woo, that was a take. Let me just say this. In my experience, when there are two people atop a football organization and they have basically equal footing with the owner and things don't go well, one of the two guys is trying to get the other guy fired. Now, I would say this. Here's what's crazy. Last year, Vrabel was the sacred cow. They lost every game and it didn't matter. It wasn't Vrabel's fault. John Robinson traded away A.J. Brown. And what made Vrabel the sacred cow right after the owner had given both of them extensions that matched, saying they wanted the two of them to be together for a long, long time, was that Vrabel acted like a total pissy pants when they traded away A.J. Brown. So nobody thought that Vrabel was the one who was responsible for that. So Vrabel never got blamed. And that's fine. I don't blame Vrabel for what happened last year. But just know this. If push does come to shove between Vrabel and Carthon, there is no way Mike Vrabel can win. The Titans cannot fire Rand Carthon 1 year into him being general manager. I really don't think that they can fire either guy. And I certainly don't think that you would fire Vrabel. You would look to trade Vrabel. You would not look to fire Vrabel. But he can't win a power struggle with Rand Carthon. I don't think he can. She's not going to pay two general managers to not work and then pay a third. So that's just something to keep in mind. And TD thinks that it was not Rand Carthon who was the leak to Ian Rappaport. And I trust TD. Man, I got to tell you, some of you people take this text line way too personally. Yesterday, we had somebody that texted in that was like, Jared, you don't read my texts anymore. And now there's somebody who texted in that said, wouldn't it look pathetic if the seats were empty on Powder Blue Day? Come on, Jared. Don't be too scared to read it. I didn't read it because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And the seats aren't going to be empty. I'm going to be at the game Sunday. Oh, goodness. Texter says, if it's all about relationships, then the question is, who in the Titans organization wants or needs a relationship with Ian Rappaport badly enough to undercut the team? These relationships are important. These relationships are important to the media guy, and they're important to, the football guy. So I don't know who, again, I assumed that Rand was the leak based solely upon Paul Kaharski accusing Rand Carthon of leaking the Traylon Burks injury news in Minnesota to Ian Rappaport. And I saw that with my own eyes. Josh says, how in the world did the Titans get like this? Been listening for years, and it's never been this bad. I think the Titans let arrogance rule the day. I think that's ultimately what happened. The Titans were not good at admitting mistakes.
You think they regret firing John Robinson?
I don't know.
Based on how the trajectory has gone since then.
I don't know, only because, like, Radin sucks, Farley sucks, Wilson sucked.
It feels like that's just kind of been like a turning point.
Malik sucks.
But maybe not. Maybe they're that bad because of John Robinson. I don't know.
Well, somebody said to me yesterday, they were like, just remember what it felt like that night in Green Bay. Like, if you could just go back to that night in Green Bay. You're 7-3. You're in first place of a terrible division. You've smoked the freaking Packers on Thursday Night Football. You finally are showing life in your passing game. Your first-round pick that you drafted to bring in to replace A.J. Brown has a monster performance. And you've won twice since then. Once in overtime. It has been nothing but crap since that moment. And that is tough to live with. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to get in. I see all your phones. We will circle back to this. We'll circle back to this topic. I do have a thought on the Jim Harbaugh thing at Michigan. And this story just gets more and more, I would say, like, direct. Is that the right way to say it? Like, it gets more and more direct. Like, there's more and more evidence.
Very damning.
I mean, it just keeps piling up on Michigan. And I have an opinion that I am not going to be convinced out of or shamed out of. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 The Game.
Vanderbilt football lives here.
This Saturday, it's Vanderbilt and Ole Miss from Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi. Kickoff at 6:30. Pregame coverage at 5.
Your home for the Commodores is 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
At Mercedes-Benz of Music City, a healthy and productive culture takes a day-to-day discipline. Here's Sam Cavett, General Manager, with a few thoughts.
Mercedes-Benz has its standard, and we have Dream Motor Group standards. They're definitely on the same level, but I feel like we challenge ourselves at least as much as Mercedes-Benz challenges us. It's a genuine motivation to take care of customers, and we see it in the customer reviews.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Introducing Gen Y Hitch, the ultimate towing solution for the modern adventurer. Whether you're hauling a boat, RV, or heavy cargo, Gen Y Hitch is your dependable companion. With its innovative design and cutting-edge technology, it delivers unrivaled stability and safety on the road. Crafted with precision engineering and built to last, Gen Y Hitch ensures a smooth and secure towing experience. Say goodbye to the hassle of traditional hitches and embrace the future of towing. You can find our full range of products and accessories at GenYHitch.com. Upgrade to Gen Y Hitch and tow with confidence. Your journey starts here.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Can you taste it?
That's good.
Twice Daily has your cravings, made to order.
Double the meat, please.
Extra cheese.
Make it a bacon cheeseburger.
Crispy bacon.
Wait, breakfast all day?
Avocado, please.
Jalapenos? Sí.
Make it spicy.
Pizza, please.
Perfecto.
Yummy.
Twice Daily has your cravings, made to order.
What are you craving?
Download the app for regular freebies.
You promised.
I took the garbage out.
No, I'm talking about all the work we need to get done around here.
I know. We need a new roof and we need replacement windows.
How about a new bathroom and some overdue remodeling?
And how are we supposed to pay for all that?
My sister said she called Remodeling Loans and they were able to find her certified contractors.
That's great. But how'd she get the money to pay for all that?
Remodeling loans are offered 0 interest for 60 months. They even have payment plans with 0 down and 0 deposit.
Looks like we're getting a home makeover.
Great! Now, if I only knew someone to call for a husband makeover.
Really?
Remodeling Loans is the #1 leader in home improvement financing. Call 800-921-1403 today for a no credit check, no risk approval. Get approved today and we'll match you with the best contractors in your area. And remember, no deposit financing is now available. Call 800-921-1403. 800-921-1403.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah, I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one.
It's absurd. Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Everybody's doing it. Buying tickets on SeatGeek, Third Deck, iPhone, Shaky. This is not Russian espionage. And by the way, college fanboys, new rule. If you didn't know a rule existed before this story, you can't be outraged by it. Did you also know you're not even allowed to go to other teams' games? That's outdated. This stuff was created for film crews and camcorders in 1994 because they felt bad because Michigan and Ohio State had money and the other schools really didn't. And so they thought, well, that's not entirely fair. It's 2023. Everybody's got an iPhone and you can go buy Purdue's best players. It's not changing the games, the scores, and the outcomes. You know who's good this year? The same teams that were good in the 70s. Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Alabama, Oklahoma. It's the same teams that were good 40 and 50 years ago.
There you go. That was Cowherd talking about the Michigan sign-stealing saga that is out there. And again, the more stories that come out about this, the more reporting. It is so obvious that the Michigan Wolverines were entrenched into this massive cheating scandal, again, in which they would take an iPhone and they would buy tickets. Now, Colin is exaggerating when he says the third level. I mean, they were right across the bench, and they'd take their phone, and they would video the signals, and they'd have all the signals, and shockingly, they apparently were able to do some serious damage with those signals. Now, let me say this. When this happened, and I first read about it the first time, before I even knew that Connor Stallions was the guy who was in charge of this, but when I first read of this espionage issue with the Michigan Wolverines, I said, if this is true, Harbaugh has to be fired. Like, Harbaugh has to go if this is the case. And ever since I had that opinion last Friday, every single person's opinion is like Cowherd's, it feels like, which is, oh no, they can't, it's not that big of a deal. Everybody cheats anyways. It's not that big. Deion Sanders said, you need to stop it. Dude, if you know it's a run versus a pass, if you know where the ball is going, if you know those things, it makes it much, much easier to be able to stop something. It's common sense. And I do think that it's not an accident that Harbaugh had that miserable season in 2020 and ever since then has rebounded, and Michigan has been to 2 straight playoffs and is number 2 in the country since then. Ian, remind me, what did the crowds look like in the Big Ten during the 2020 season?
The crowds for the Big Ten?
Yes.
20, I think are fine. No, I don't know.
2020?
Oh, you said 20. I thought you said 2010 season. I'm sorry.
2020.
Oh, okay. Not good.
Completely empty.
Not good.
Completely empty. So they couldn't buy their tickets, and they couldn't film the sidelines, and they were terrible. And now that all of a sudden they've been filming for the last 2 years, and they've been winning all these games. And even if it is just a coincidence, it is such a brazen, approach to breaking the rules. It is such a systemic, organized way of cheating. Harbaugh's got to go. Harbaugh's got to go. And if you don't punish Jim Harbaugh for this, and benching him for a game is not punishing a guy who makes $9 million in order to coach college football, if you don't punish Harbaugh for this, then what's the point of even having rules? And here's where I knew that, like, as soon as I saw this, I thought it. And then I knew that there were going to be people that would come out anytime they don't like a rule. They sit there and bitch about the rule. It's like, well, I think that rule's stupid. And I'm like, okay, well, I think it's stupid that if you fumble a football and it goes out of the back of the end zone, they put the ball at the 20-yard line for the other team. But the moment that I knew that I was right, and I was not going to move off of this opinion, that Harbaugh, who's already been caught cheating for other stuff, I mean, this is bad. This is the Houston Astros banging the trash can. This is the New England Patriots and Spygate. And the second that I knew I was onto something today with this was when they had Harbaugh on the TV as we were switching over between us and the midday show. They had Harbaugh on TV, and I said, they had to fire his ass. And Willie Donick, who Willie thinks all of my takes are crazy. You know Willie thinks that I live on another planet. You know that. I know that. And Willie knows that, or at least I know that Willie thinks that I live on another planet. And Willie said, I don't think that's crazy. And so you know that if I have an opinion and about firing somebody, Willie never wants to fire anybody. So you know that if I have an opinion about somebody should be fired and Willie agrees with it, it has to be true. Harbaugh should be fired. I mean, this is ridiculous. And have you seen the evidence that they have? Holy smokes. I mean, I think there's more evidence against Connor Stallions buying tickets for these games with Michigan opponents than there was against O.J. Simpson. I mean, it's wild. Adam's up next here on the program. What's up, Adam? Adam! It said in the box, innocent until proven guilty. Have you seen the evidence in this? Like, they are clearly guilty. And I do think in this instance that I don't know what you do to the program because I don't believe in punishing the kids. You know, every time that a coach gets caught cheating by paying players, it's always like, a bowl ban or something like that. And I'm like, well, you're hurting the players. You're hurting the players. You're not hurting the people that did the cheating. So to me, the person that should take the blame for the cheating is Harbaugh, and Harbaugh should be fired. But I don't know if you immediately suspend Harbaugh with all this evidence and put somebody else in charge and then fire him, once you finally do decide that he's guilty. But I don't know if you can let Harbaugh stand on that sideline the rest of the season because they're going to make the college football playoff. They're going to beat Ohio State. The game this year is at Michigan. They're going to beat Ohio State. They're going to make it to the playoff. And I don't know if you can have them in the playoff with this hanging over their head. This is bad. One texter says that they stole the Vols signals and helped South Carolina defeat the Vols. I saw that they had bought tickets for the Vols games. I did not see that they had given the signs to South Carolina. Has that been, is that a story? If that's true, that's next level. Texter, the text line says the defensive turnaround is something that is due to the signal stealing, right? So McDonald's at the Ravens isn't a good defensive coordinator, and he would stink because they can't steal signals in the NFL. First of all, you can still steal signals in the NFL. They still signal to one another. Secondly, and more importantly, the NFL is all about the players. Anyways, the Ravens have always had a good defense. This is no different. It's not an apples-to-apples discussion. Texter says they won't do it because it's Jim Harbaugh. I do wonder, when we play that Cowherd cut where Cowherd gets on his, soapbox, his ivory tower, team player. Fox has the Big Ten rights. The Big Ten is infinitely more valuable with Harbaugh at Michigan. I do wonder if that is a part of the discussion. Texter says, coaches need to coach better and players need to play better. It isn't stoppable. I can't believe they had it on as much on staff computers. Very dumb. The kids should not have been on the payroll. I think that they need to go with, as far as signal stealing, it's fair game. I have eyeballs. I can watch film, and there's really no way to stop it. Well, there are rules, though, that are in place. Like, you can, in fact, stop. I think that stealing signs during a game, the thumb, the ears, the nose, the belt, like baseball, I think that's fine. In fact, I told you guys when Vandy was playing here in the regional, my buddy is one of the coaches on Xavier's baseball staff. And I watched their third base coach, and I said to my buddy that night at the hotel, I go, is your indicator for your signs X? And they said, yeah. And the next day, I went back to the regional, and I was talking to my buddy and his buddy, the coach, and his buddy, the coach, was like, yeah, he told me that you're already onto our signals. Like, so that's one thing. But another thing for me, as far as, again, the cheating and all the other stuff, you start using the video and you start doing things that are against the rule. If you don't enforce the rules, then there's no point of even having rules. Apparently, supposedly, Michigan gave South Carolina the signals to beat UT. And one of the coaches came from South Carolina.
I don't know about that.
Apparently, they gave them to UT and Clemson to help knock them out of the playoff. I mean, if you do that.
That is some deep level stuff right there.
If you do that, you should ban Jim Harbaugh from football. Like, not just.
That's next
like, you
level.
should ban him from the NFL. Like, you should just ban him.
That's like sinister.
Kind of like OJ. I feel like OJ's banned from football. We never see him at the Heisman stuff. He doesn't do NFL stuff anymore. Now, different reason for OJ, but much more serious reason. But my God, what a disaster. What a disgrace. 615-737-1225. And you people out there that think that, who cares about this rule? I mean, massive cheating by Michigan. You people have never supported anything that's come out of the Big Ten. Why do you support Michigan now on this one? Just terrible. 615-737-1025. I'm sure Kenny's listening, and I'm sure he doesn't like it. I did not like feeling like a flip-flopper yesterday during Jared versus Joe. And there was one specific opinion that Caroline called me a flip-flopper on, and I can't necessarily argue it. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Whether it's college football,
players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia,
or the NFL.
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman & Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Birds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Vancouver Canucks vanquished the Nashville Predators 3-2 on Tuesday night. The Canucks were quicker on to pucks, they were quicker on the attack, and they were able to hold on for the victory over the Predators, dropping Nashville to 3-4 on the year. So now the Predators will be working out later this morning at Centennial Sportsplex and tomorrow morning as well. Their next opponent coming up on Saturday night at Bridgestone Arena, the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs playing in Dallas tonight. So the Leafs come in to take on the Predators Saturday, and because of Hockey Night in Canada, time considerations, the game will be played at 6 o'clock Central Time. Pre-game coverage will be underway at 5. Jay Moore and I will have all the action for you right here on the Regions Bank Nashville Predators Radio Network.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Blue Raider fans, your home for all the MTSU football and men's basketball action is on 93.3 Classic Hits and 95.1 Classic Hits in the borough. Catch the action all season long with Chip Walters on the call. Go Blue Raiders!
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
There's lots to love from Apple right now at Verizon. Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium and more to love from Apple on us with select phone trade-in and select unlimited plans. There's no better place to get what you love from Apple than at Verizon. And there's no better time than right now. All that with the network you can really rely on. It's your Verizon. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on select 5G unlimited plans required. Less up to $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions apply. One offer per eligible Verizon line. Additional terms apply.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is delivered by Black Tie Moving. The Tennessee Titans were back at practice today, getting ready to host Atlanta on Sunday. The NFL Network is reporting that rookie quarterback Will Levis is expected to get the start this week while Ryan Tannehill recovers from his ankle injury. Levis spoke about some of the progress he's made since the start of training camp.
Just comfort, just getting used to this team, getting used to playing in this league and everything that comes with it, and just with every practice rep that I get, whether it was on show team or with the ones, I'm trying to get the most out of it, and I think that just all those reps have built up, and still got a long way to go, but it definitely improved since I first got here.
Ryan Tannehill, tight end Josh Wiley, and defensive back Roger McCreary all did not practice today. Wide receiver Traylon Burks remained a full participant. Titans versus Falcons is set for noon on Sunday. In tonight's Thursday night football matchup, the Bills are hosting the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield and wide receiver Chris Godwin are both listed as questionable but are expected to play. Kickoff is set for 7:15 tonight. And some NHL news, Ottawa Senators forward Shane Pinto has been suspended for 41 games after violating the league's gambling policy. The Nashville Predators will return to action Saturday when they host Toronto. And in some baseball news, Astros manager Dusty Baker announced his retirement. The World Series gets underway tomorrow night. This Game Center update delivered by Black Tie Moving. Use the promo code GAME to score 10% off your next move. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt. I think he's going to coach him up by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So I do want to celebrate our victory yesterday on Jared versus Joe. We did change the format up on Joe. Caroline and I did discuss it in the morning, and we did not talk to Joe about it. Joe has lodged a protest as the operator of the Stillman and Company program. I have denied that protest.
It's a fair request from Joe.
It is a very fair request. Unfortunately, the arbiter has decided against it. So I will celebrate my victory on Jared versus Joe yesterday. But there was one thing in which Caroline Fenton accused me of flip-flopping on. And I can't say that she's wrong. Now, Joe flip-flopped way more than me yesterday. This is more about me than it is Joe. So we'll just go over Joe's quick flip-flops, and then we'll get to me more.
Well, Joe had a little bit more, reason for the flip-flops.
Well, I'm about to get to my reason for the flip-flop.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, he had some evidence. He has seen some things to make his change his mind.
About the New England comments with Vrabel?
Sure. And about Brewer.
Okay, so Joe flipped on three things. Number one, he flipped on Aaron Brewer as a center, who I feel like I'm the only guy in the world that goes crazy about how stupid that is to pay Aaron Brewer $4.3 million when they could have given him the right of first refusal tender. But I don't even think Aaron Brewer should be starting in the NFL at 270 pounds. And Joe does think that Brewer at $4.3 million at center is stupid, which I was stunned by. Because Joe has been like, every time they talk about our Robbie and Joe, it's like, Yeah, Jared always gets mad about Aaron Brewer, but Aaron Brewer's not that bad. Yes, he is. Joe flip-flopped on Peter Skoronsky as a left guard only, saying that they should be trying him out at tackle. And finally, on the New England comments that Vrabel made about how special of a place it is in New England and that not everywhere is like that, and he's been plenty of places to know, Joe, who had an entire Rex rant, mad about those comments when I didn't even say that Vrabel was talking about Nashville. I asked the question if Vrabel was talking about here.
We should be proud of Joe. Giving him props for coming to see the light on all three of these.
That is true. There is an element of that. But he did an entire Rex rant about it. We didn't even, people are like, yeah, Jared made a big deal about this, and Vrabel was all pissed about it the next day. We did one segment on it, and in the middle of that segment, you said to me, Byard's traded. I'm like, oh, well, there goes that. That's over with.
Well, Joe should be getting some credit here for seeing the evidence and coming to the light.
What evidence did he see on the New England comments?
Well, he heard the comments and he heard the scuttlebutt, and he kind of realized he might have been out of place. And he saw 6 games of Brewer at center, and he's seen the offensive line. This was all before the season.
Just taking up for everybody.
So, he's just has some evidence here to change his mind. You, on the other hand, I see no evidence to change your mind.
Okay, so here's where I flip-flopped. Who should be playing quarterback on Sunday against the Falcons? And I said Will Levis. And I have, for the last week, yelled and screamed about the fact that the Titans do not have the infrastructure in place to support a young rookie quarterback and to allow him to have success. And that is something that I am telling you I will go to my grave about, knowing is that you've got to give a young rookie quarterback success, or the tools to have success. Andy Reid gave Patrick Mahomes a year behind Alex Smith, plus Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Brock Purdy has the best offensive coach, the best left tackle, the best running back, the second best tight end, and 2 great receivers to go with the best defense. You've got to help a young quarterback out. And this team is in no position to help Will Levis out. If anything, with this offensive line, right now they're starting Nicholas Petit-Ferrer at left tackle, and he stinks. But he might be better than the other guy they were starting at left tackle, who stunk more. But the reason why I said Levis is because I can't watch Malik Willis play quarterback. I can't watch it anymore. I've seen enough of it. He started, 3 games last year, 4 games last year? Plus the preseason last year, plus the preseason this year? I've had enough. Malik seems like a nice kid. I'm very happy for how hard he worked this offseason to improve, and he did improve. But I can't watch Malik play anymore. And I know that there's probably a lot of you out there that just want to see Will Levis play because he's the new guy. And I can't tell you if the reason why I don't want to watch Malik play is because Malik's awful, or if it's because, just like a lot of you, I want to see the new guy. I still believe that there's nothing that you will see Sunday that will tell you the end result on Will Levis one way or another. Because I don't believe that there's any way that you can know these things. Again, I watched Vince Young win Rookie of the Year here. He was the hottest thing in this town. And I've seen a guy like Tua get yanked around and benched, and the owner gets suspended because he's trying to get rid of Tua, and he's trying to bring in Sean Payton and Tom Brady, and then all of a sudden, they got Tua in infrastructure. They traded for the best receiver in the NFL. They got him an offensive coach, and now Tua's lighting up the scoreboard. So there's no way to know after a year whether or not the quarterback's going to be any good. And there's really no way to know after a year if the quarterback's bad unless he just is terrible and doesn't look like he can play quarterback. Unfortunately, kind of like Malik. If I were the general manager, and I mean this in the traditional sense, where I get to make the decisions for my team and I don't have to collaborate with the coach, but I'm the GM. If I was the general manager for the team and the head coach or the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach, whatever, if they came up to me and they told me Will Levis is not ready to play in the NFL behind the infrastructure with which we have for Will Levis, then I would go sign another Josh Dobbs type player to come in here and play Sunday before I'd put Malik out on the field. I understand why it looks like a flip-flop because it goes against the core principle I have, which is the most important thing for this franchise is whatever is in the best interest of the young quarterback, and that is Will Levis. And yet I just, as a fan, I can't watch Malik play on Sunday. I just don't want to watch Malik play on Sunday. I've seen Malik play enough. I don't even want to see these gimmick plays from Malik. I want to see Malik wear a ball cap on the sidelines. That's what I want to see. And it's nothing against Malik the dude. It's just I've seen enough of Malik. And that is the fan talking as much as it is the protector of the franchise approach talking. 615-737-1025. Add that to the list. We'll get to your phones. Plus, Dan Graziano had a scorching hot take about the Titans at the trade deadline. We'll hit on that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
Preds fans, we are going bigger, bolder, and golder than ever this season in Smashville. Join us for the first gold game of the season as we take on the Toronto Maple Leafs this Saturday, October 28th at Bridgestone Arena. Head down early for the Preds Plaza Party presented by Dr. Pepper to enjoy family-friendly activities, giveaways, live music, and more. Plus, everyone in attendance will receive an exclusive gold t-shirt courtesy of Jersey Mike's. Secure your tickets today at NashvillePredators.com. Welcome to Smashville.
So, if there's brunch, why isn't there dinner?
Or dunch, for that matter.
No, we know why there's no dunch.
Why is that?
People might get confused and miss brunch.
And I never want to miss a brunch this good.
Me either. Cheers.
Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Breakfast buffet Monday through Thursday from 7 till 10:30 a.m. and lunch from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Weekend brunch Friday through Sunday from 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. featuring cast iron pancakes, made-to-order waffles, and eggs and carafes of mimosas. Treat yourself today to Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel.
It's time to celebrate this fall and unleash the beast. Monster Brewing proudly presents to you Beast Unleashed. 0 caffeine, 0 sugar, all the adult beverage fun. The Beast is unleashed with great taste, bold familiar flavors, and 6% alcohol. Go wild with Mean Green, White Haze, Peach Perfect, and Scary Berries. Don't fear the Beast. Enjoy Beast Unleashed at your next tailgate or football party. Drink responsibly. Must be 21 and over.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is from Nashville's largest axe-throwing venue, Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for $25. Aim for a great time while enjoying panoramic downtown views, live music, curated cocktails from the full bar, and a Northwoods-inspired menu with a Southern twist. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville welcomes axe throwers and non-axe throwers alike. Bad Axe Throwing Nashville, 648 Fogg Street.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. And like us on Facebook, too. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
One of the great unknowns is where the owner stands on the current organization.
Yeah.
Is the owner willing to do a little tear down? Is the owner all in with Mike Vrabel? She should be. Rand Carthon is still new on the job. And maybe it is kind of a strategic movement to lay the foundation for the future. They're most likely going to have a different quarterback next year than Ryan Tannehill, either Malik Willis or Will Levis. Willis has been a pleasant surprise in his second year. Levis was the guy they moved up the draft in round 2 because they weren't sold on Willis. That's for next year. And so maybe you kind of rebuild, reconfigure. If you can get value for Derrick Henry, maybe you do it. Maybe you do it. Maybe one of these contenders decides. And remember, we got one more week of games, and there are no buys in week 8. Everybody's playing. So you got to get through the game. Somebody may get injured. Somebody may win a game they were supposed to lose a game they're supposed to win. All of a sudden, the window opens for a Derrick Henry trade between now and 4 o'clock Eastern next Tuesday. So I'm watching the Titans, and I'm watching Derrick Henry or anybody else they have that they may want to move on.
There you go. That was Florio talking about Derrick Henry trade deadline, tearing it down. And when it comes to the trade deadline, all the names are kind of the same. Hopkins, Henry, Autry, Tart. I've thrown Azeez Al-Shaair in there. Diana Rossini had a report that a team called the Titans about Treylon Burks. Diana Rossini, normally when it comes from her, we assume that it comes from Mike Vrabel. So add that to the mix. But how about this take from Dan Graziano at ESPN? Quote, he thinks the Titans, by the way, may be trying to use the Falcons game to showcase the 2 quarterbacks. Quote, I think it's more likely they move Malik Willis than Tannehill, but that assumes somebody wants to take a shot on the 2022 third-round pick. What? So his theory behind the 2 quarterbacks that Vrabel's planning to play on Sunday is that the Titans will play Malik, trying to showcase him so that the Titans can get a pick in exchange if somebody wants to take a shot on Willis. I don't want to sound like Negative Nancy over here, but if Kevin Byard is worth a 5th and 6th round pick, what round is Malik Willis worth? The 10th round? The 12th round? It's like baseball. You gotta go to the 50th round. I mean, seriously, where did that come from with Dan Graziano? I think it's more likely they move Malik Willis than Tannehill. Now, I don't think they're going to move Tannehill either. But, I mean, Tannehill, I understand. You know, Tannehill's got the injury, so that would be tough. But if a team's quarterback goes down, or if you're willing to eat some money or something like that, and a team gives you a 5th-round pick for him, and he sits on the bench and heals up for a couple of weeks and kind of learns their receivers and everything else, and then you put him out there because he's better than some crap bum. But Malik? Who's trading for Malik Willis? I think there's more there when it comes to this weird story that some card shop had a signing lined up with DeAndre Hopkins through a third party, and they had to postpone their signing with DeAndre Hopkins through past the trade deadline. And then once that hit social media, DeAndre said that he'd never heard of that place. And then that place said that they had worked it out through a third party. And then DeAndre said that that third party defrauded them. And so that was a whole other little weird mini story that popped up today. But I think there's more of a story with that than there is with Dan Graziano's opinion that somebody would trade a pick for Malik Willis. That's like all you people that were texting into the text line during the preseason that's like, do you think we can get a pick for Willis? Do you think somebody would offer a 4th-round pick for Willis? No. Kevin Byard just went for a 5th and 6th round pick. You think Malik Willis, who threw for 85 yards in a preseason game, you think Malik Willis is going to get you a pick? I mean, I've seen crazy things happen before. Unfortunately, normally it's the Titans that are the ones doing the crazy things. By the way, you know what Paul was talking about? And this is a total indictment of John Robinson, who I defend quite often. Do you know what those picks represent for the Titans? The Byard picks, what they replace?
I do. Yeah, I heard them talking about that. One was Ugo Amadi, who you traded for from Philly, right?
Yeah, and then
he
you
didn't
cut.
even play. I don't think he played.
And so they gave you the pick back in the Byard deal. You cut him, and I think he plays now for Seattle, and he actually gets in the game. Like, he
Does
plays.
He?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure I've noticed him. And then I think the other one was Dennis Daly.
Dennis Daly and Ugo Amadi. You traded. This is good. I mean, just, again, over the last 2 years, you've traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, A.J. Brown and Kevin Byard. In exchange, you've received Treylon Burks, Malik Willis, Hugo Amadi, and Dennis Daly. I want that to sink in for everybody for a second.
And Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, he might be the best player of that group. Like, he might be, and that's disheartening. 615-737-1025 to your phones we go here on the program. One texter says, you can't have these quarterbacks play well with this terrible line. They're going to get killed on Sunday. I don't disagree with that. I will say this, though. I don't think Malik Willis, like, I talk about quarterbacks with infrastructure and how I don't think it's an accident that Brock Purdy had infrastructure or that Dan Marino at Miami, you know, he sat for, I want to say, like the first 6 games, and then they turned it over to Marino as a rookie. And Marino had Don Shula as his coach, and he had the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. I don't think it's an accident that, you know, Joe Montana had Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice, and that was why he was successful. I mean, Montana might have been successful no matter what, but it doesn't hurt. You know, to have that coach and that receiver and, you know, in Marino's case, that defense and everything else, I don't think Malik would be good with a good line. Like, if you put Malik on the Philadelphia Eagles, do you think Malik Willis would be good? Great offensive line, good tight end, great receivers, good scheme, good coach. Good offensive coach. I think Sirianni's kind of a doofus, but good offensive coach. Do you think Malik could have success on the Eagles?
I mean, more than here, but I still don't think he would flash as like a starter. He's having trouble reading the defenses. I'm not sure that's going to help no matter who's around him. He still won't throw the ball.
I think Malik would be terrible. Like, I still think he'd be terrible even on the Eagles.
He'll probably be better.
And maybe that's just my evaluation, and I'm bad at I guess I'm bad at evaluating. I don't know. But, like, I don't think Malik would be very good. So I agree that, like, with this offensive line, who's going to be good at quarterback? Agreed. But I think Malik, this is just me, all things equal, I still think Malik's terrible. Texter says, just to show you how much the first game for Levis will not be indicative of his future, remember when Marcus Mariota threw for 4 touchdowns and had a perfect passer rating in his first game? Yes, I do. At Tampa Bay, and the game started off, I believe, with a Bleedy Ray Wilson or Cody Sensabaugh pick 6. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the terrible corners the Titans had back in the Wisenhunt days, and they smoked Tampa Bay. And it takes time to learn about a quarterback. Texture says, have the Titans given Malik a real chance to succeed? No, they haven't, but I don't think it matters. I think there's a difference between, you know, he could be a good player if you just gave him a chance, and he's just not very good. And I think Sam Darnold is an example of a player that if you just gave Sam Darnold a chance, and the Jets never did, and Carolina yanked him around, and finally last year he got the starting job midway through the season and almost got Carolina into the playoffs. And so I think Sam Darnold with infrastructure in San Francisco is going to be a very good quarterback. Not an okay quarterback. Like, I think he'll be a very good quarterback with the infrastructure they have in San Francisco if he ever gets into those games. When it comes to Willis, I don't think Willis would be good for the 49ers. I don't think Willis would be good for the Eagles. And if you can't be good with the Eagles or the 49ers, you're just not good. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can't evaluate quarterbacks at all. But I wouldn't be interested in that. Texter into the text line says, Malik Willis is suited for the wing T offense. Now, I watched their media availabilities yesterday, Willis and Levis. And I think Paul asked Willis the question about jumping back in bounds on that one play. And he was like, oh, it was a busted play, and I was trying to make something happen. And I thought, did you not know that you were under 2 minutes, though? I mean, just because you're trying to make something happen doesn't, I think, excuse you from completely misinterpreting the game. Texture said, what did the scouts see in Willis that would convince them he was worth a third? Dude, I want to know. Jordan Reed at ESPN had Malik Willis going number 2 overall to the Detroit Lions in one of his mock drafts before the 2022 draft.
Well, he has good traits. Everybody loves traits when it comes to quarterbacks in the draft. Strong arm,
Malik can
all
throw,
that kind of stuff.
And Malik's accurate. I mean, Malik can throw, and he's athletic. Accurate, he is not. But he's got a strong arm, and he's athletic. Other than that, he's got nothing. But the way this league works is these coaches think that if you're athletic and you have a strong arm, that they can train you, they can coach you, they can develop you. And even if that was the case for Malik, and I don't know if it is or if it isn't, even if that was the case, they screwed that up last year by making him play. I think I angered one texter. All caps. What you said about the trades with Philly puts the Titans all in perspective. What are they doing? With a bunch of exclamation points.
Yeah, when you look at it like that,
A.J. Brown.
It's not great.
A.J. Brown and Kevin Byard for Treylon Burks, Malik Willis, Terrell Edmonds, Hugo Amadi, and Dennis Daly. A.J. Brown and Kevin Byard for 5 Scarbinis. And right now, A.J. Brown is Calvin Johnson. One texter says, put Willis at tight end. You need one of those guys as well. Willis isn't big enough to play tight end.
He can't block. It was Cody Sensabaugh with the pick 6 anyway.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was either him or Bleedy. It was one of the 2 terrible brothers that they had out there. Oh, my goodness. Texture says, Vrabel planned a game with Malik Willis where they ran Derrick Henry the entire time. Malik in 2 games threw the ball 8 times, 4 each. 2 for 4, 3 for 4. In 3 games, he was under 270 yards. Terrible. Will Levis is the shiny new toy whose ceiling looks much bigger than Willis. Get off Willis. He stinks. I think I told you that when I said that I don't think I could watch Malik play on Sunday. I'm not interested in Malik. Boy, I tell you, if I have to watch Malik Willis on Sunday, that's going to just drive me crazy if they have to put him out there. And you know Vrabel's going to put him out there because Vrabel is probably mad about that Ian Rappaport report. Well, I wouldn't say Vrabel is probably mad about it. Vrabel is absolutely mad about the Ian Rappaport report that Will Levis is going to start because somebody in the organization is leaking and he doesn't know who it is. And we went over it, that, it's either got to be an owner, the general manager, and we don't think it's one of the coaches because Fitz said that the coaches are upset. So, I mean, we know he's mad. And yet when he gets mad about something like that, he gets so petty that it's almost like he's going to find a way to play both quarterbacks and make sure that he plays Malik, if for no other reason than to be like, yeah, whoever's telling Ian Rappaport that stuff is wrong. I do wonder if Vrabel's going to have to take this approach. How many people did we say could have been the leaker to Ian Rappaport? Like 5? 3 owners. The general manager. We say Brinker and Robinson are out of it. So take them out. And we're going to assume that it wasn't an assistant coach because Fitz said the coaches are mad.
So, yeah, 4 or 5.
See, the way that you spot the leaker, if you're a guy like Vrabel, is what you do is you basically tell 3 sets of information to 3 different people. And then whatever piece of information gets out, then you know who the leaker is. And I learned that from Floyd, who told me that, one time I said, if you've got somebody leaking in your organization, how do you figure out who the leaker is? He goes, it's easy. I tell you that I'm drafting the running back, I tell him that I'm drafting the tight end, and I tell him that I'm taking the receiver, and whichever one ends up in the paper, that's who I know.
It's like Clue. Yeah, like the game of Clue.
That's how I know who my leaker is. The problem is if it's an owner, Vrabel can't lie to the owners. You can't lie to the owners. So, as, down to the truth, as I bet you he probably wants to get, you can't get to the bottom of that if it's the owners. I don't think you guys watch football. Glenn in Mount Juliet says, turn Malik into the next Cordell Stewart. Malik is not Cordell Stewart. In fact, I'm embarrassed because I said during training camp when Malik was playing well, when he was wearing a red jersey and they couldn't hit him, Malik was playing well, and I said, he's probably got the ceiling of, his ceiling is probably Tyrod Taylor. Now, everybody else was like, how dare you, Tyrod Taylor? Oh, come on. He could be so much better. Caroline, Joe. But now I'm embarrassed that I said that because Tyrod Taylor's actually pretty good. Tyrod Taylor should be the starting quarterback of the Giants, and Malik is never going to be as good as Tyrod Taylor. Never going to be as good as Tyrod Taylor. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Somebody said the training staff could be the leak. If the training staff is the leak, how would they know who's going to start at quarterback? What they would know is who's not going to play, not who is going to play. So can't have training staff be the leak there. I think you guys are stretching it too hard. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. I'm trying to read this text right here to see if this is like the actual scoop of how this happened. I don't think it is, though. Stillman and Company coming up next. Hal Gill will join us. Kind of disappointed in the Preds' latest loss and a little disappointed they're not playing tonight. We'll hit that with Hal next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue is your home for hockey action all season long. They are Predators approved and all the games are on, and they'll even give you the sound. Get awesome game day drink specials on Blue Note Bourbon and Black Abbey Beer. When you think hockey, think Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue, or Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue. Go Preds!
Hey guys, it's Mike from Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville. You know what time of year it almost is? Spooky season. But we're not about scaring your kids. We want them to have an amazing Halloween experience. That's why we host one of the largest trunk or treats in Middle Tennessee each and every year. And this year, we're back to hosting in person, not as a drive-thru anymore. Get ready with your best costumes and walking shoes because on October 29th, from 3 to 5 p.m., we'll have 2 hours of trunk-or-treating, contests, pizza, and of course, a whole lot of candy. We can't wait to have fun Sunday afternoon with you, rain or shine. Mark your calendars for October 29th from 3 to 5 p.m. at Newton Nissan South, 2801 Highway 231 in Shelbyville, just 15 minutes from Murfreesboro. That's October 29th from 3 to 5 p.m. Follow us on Facebook to stay up to date. And don't forget the website, newtonnissansouth.com.
Join former Tennessee Titans players Brad Hopkins, Neil O'Donnell, Dexter McCluster, and Al Smith on October 21st from 1 to 5 for the Kurdish Festival and Sports Tournament, hosted by the Salahuddin Center and NFL Alumni Tennessee. This event will be held at the Hivy Center, located at 3124 Old Franklin Road in Antioch. Activities include food, sports tournaments, a bouncy house, and updated COVID and flu vaccines available. Head to nflgearup.org/Tennessee for more information.
Want an inexperienced surgeon?
Okay, nurse, I'm ready for the scalpel.
How about an inexperienced airline pilot?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, and I'm terrified.
Experience matters, and we have it.
Regal Realty Group is experienced to help you from contract to close. They know the area, understand financing, and have up-to-date property listings and comparisons. Oh, and lots of experience. Visit RegalRG.com.
Whether you drink it neat, in a cocktail, or like our boys at Bridgestone, on ice, Blue Note Bourbon hits all the right notes. From the ever-popular Blue Note Juke Joint to our fabled Blue Note Crossroads. It doesn't matter if you're watching the Preds at a bar or just hanging at home. Our double gold medal winning, hand-bottled, straight bourbon whiskey always sounds like a good time is about to be had. Blue Note Bourbon. Take note. Sip responsibly.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad.
It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stillman Company.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Smashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Predators are off tonight. Normally they play on Thursdays. They are not playing tonight. They lost to Vancouver the other night. And now they are continuing the tour of the great players going to Bridgestone Arena when the Toronto Maple Leafs come in on Saturday. And I have to say, the first disappointing loss of the season for me was on Tuesday against Vancouver. Hal Gill joins us now on the program, presented by Duncan. So, Hal, let's start there. I excused the losses to Tampa Bay and Boston. They're both two really good teams. I excused getting smoked by Edmonton because the Predators always get smoked by Edmonton. I was not happy with the performance the other night. It just felt like they just looked slow and sluggish against Vancouver. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, you know what the interesting part is, I talked to Coach Brunette, and he's not happy about it either. And so, which me a lot, I think he's willing to accept the loss. And, he's got a young team. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe he just says, hey, boys, we're not going to win these games. Like, just keep going out and playing. But he was not happy with that one. They had a good hard skate yesterday, and I think he made some adjustments, mainly attitude adjustments, and I think he's expecting a big performance Saturday and a good comeback. But yeah, the other games, the other losses against tough teams, and Edmonton, they did have some bad bounces, and they kind of got away with them from them, but they competed the whole game, and I don't think they really turned it on until the third against Vancouver. So. Yeah, disappointing loss, but we'll see the response. That's the most important part.
What do you make of the fact that the Predators are, for the most part, hanging in a lot of these games, and yet right now, and I know it's early in the season, but they find themselves a little far down the standings?
I think it's too early to be looking down the standings because, well, for a lot of reasons. First of all, look at all the new personnel that you have, and you don't have an existing core that you say, hey, let's roll out and play our game because you have a new coach that's come in and put in a new system. I think, and Barry Trotz, it was interesting where he was, I don't know where he said it. It might have been with you, but he said, teams used to come up and say, or people used to come up and say, hey, tough win or great win or tough loss. And now saying, well, I like the way the team is playing. And so I think we have to look at the way the team is playing rather than the wins and losses. Because I think before you get to a point where you're battling in the standings, I think you got to get to a point where you're happy with the game that you're playing. And I think there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of guys learning a new system and, making adjustments. And so, you could throw a team out there and say, hey, just lock it down and we'll find a way to win. And you got to do that at some point. But I think there's got to be an okay, not to say that losing is okay, but let's play the right way. And if we lose, it'll pay off down the stretch, if that makes sense. And I think they're they're okay, not with the Vancouver game, but they're okay losing rather than trap it up and just defend and rely on juice to make saves and pack it in around your net. They want to go play fast. They want to play hard, and they want to find ways to win. And with that system, and so I think the standings will put on check for a little bit.
Hal, what do you make as a former player of Barry Trotz and how open and honest he is? On one hand, I got the Titans where everything is a freaking secret. And then I've got Barry who basically is like, yeah, he and Coach have had some tough discussions and Coach has told him he's got to start playing better. Or, yeah, we'd be looking to deal that guy because we want to get better in this area. I mean, it is so refreshing. I hope that Barry never changes. You played for him. Like, as both a former player and somebody who has been in different organizations, what do you make of that? And do you think that actually helps the team when you've got a straight shooter? Barry talks a lot, but at least when he talks, he tells it like it is.
Yeah, no, I you know what? I appreciate that. I played for a lot of coaches. Pat Burns was my first coach, and I hated him. He was miserable. And now I look back on it and I respect it as my career went on. I said, you know what? I hated him, but he was honest. He did not hold back any punches. You knew exactly where he stood. And that's kind of refreshing. And I respected the heck out of him. So I think you can be, you can be a great players coach, great guy. You can be a GM that, is a great guy and everyone likes him. And then you can be a hardcore. As long as you have respect, I think that goes a long way. And if Barry Trotz is saying the same thing to the player as he's saying to you or to any other media or to anyone else, then I think you have to respect that. Now, there's a way that to go about it. Barry Trotz will say, hey, this is a younger player and we need him to get to this point. And, he talks about Cody Glass and expecting more. You can't hide in the weeds anymore. You need to be a better player. And if he says that to him and then reports it to the media, I don't think players have a problem with it. Why would they? And I think the more honesty you have, the better it is. Now, the problem gets to be where if you're getting beaten down by the media and your GM comes out and is honest, that stings. You want to fight for a GM. You want to fight for a coach. And if they don't have your back, then that's a whole different story. But so far, I like the way Trotz and Bruno have been really honest.
Does the way that Barry carries himself as GM, does that remind you of what Barry used to be like as coach, or have you seen kind of a difference in the two?
No, I think there's certainly a difference in the two, just by the fact that Trotzy was very much in tune with the team and his players. And now I feel like Trotzy's kind of all over the place. He's dealing with, in arena stuff. He's dealing with the way things are run around the arena. I think he's got a pulse, or he's trying to get a pulse on everything that goes on around the Predators organization. And so I think he's dealing with a lot of moving parts, but I think the way he handles them is the same. He just wants to get all the information and then give feedback and move forward. And so I see the same mannerisms. I just think he's spread himself out throughout, and that's a lot harder thing to do, I think.
Hal Gilsworth is presented by Duncan. I do have one football question for you, Harold. So,
oh boy.
This weekend, Mike Vrabel.
By the way, Jared, before you go on your end, I want to say I'm so proud of you because you are really just a speed bump in life, and Mike Vrabel is the dude. He's the man. He is everything every little boy grows up thinking they could be. And then you got him to acknowledge you and say and go at you, which is your dream.
Oh, that's happened many a time over the years. That's nothing new. But
you love that. I know you do.
More importantly,
he acknowledged you. I don't know why.
More importantly, I actually do want to ask you specifically about Michael Richard Vrabel and the fact that he was inducted to the Patriots Hall of Fame. And that I believe, Vrabel told me the other day.
My favorite player for the Patriots, by the way. My favorite player.
Was it more than Brady?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a Bledsoe fan.
Well, That shows his analysis right there. But
Yeah,
more
I gotta
importantly,
check that.
you think like a man, you think like an athlete. You tell me, if you listen to this cut from Vrabel, and I ask you, do you think there could possibly be a hint of dissatisfaction with somewhere that he's been in the NFL?
But I also want you not to take this organization for granted. I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
It's not like this everywhere. I've been a lot of places. You think like a man. You think like an athlete. Do you think that there could be a little shade right there in those words?
Why do you think the Tennessee Titans went out and hired Mike Vrabel?
Because John Robinson wanted to put in the Patriot way, which we now know is the Tom Brady way.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But, yeah, he's trying – the Patriot way is what they did and how they conducted themselves, and they're trying to get there. He says it. If you listen, he says it. I want to get there. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well,
I'm
go
trying to
get
get
Tom Brady.
My God.
And then you can
ridiculous.
do that.
You're ridiculous.
Mike Mularkey.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I respect that. And if anyone doesn't respect the run that the Patriots went on, whether it was Tom Brady or whether it was Belichick, whether it's the cast of characters, including Vrabel, they found something and they ran with it. And that's what they're trying to look for with Tennessee. And that's what every NFL team is trying to look for. So for him to say that, I don't know why you all get fired up about it, because you're just saying what it is.
I didn't. I asked the question on air. I said, do we think he's, when he says that it's not, like this everywhere, do you think he's talking about here? And then, I was just asking
talking about here and a lot of other places.
Well, I was just talking. Well, we know he's not talking about the Steelers, and I was just talking about that on air. And then I was like, as we were starting that discussion, Ian says, "Oh, they traded Kevin Byard," and all of a sudden, that topic went away. And then the next day, Vrabel, was asked about it, and he was like, "Well, who's parsing it?" I raised my hand and said I was. Hal Gill, as always, a great man on this program. Hal, appreciate you. Brought to you by Duncan, as always.
All right, proud of you, Jared. You got what you wanted. Proud of you, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
You want to know what I really want? And I want you to hear this. I want you, Hal, I'm talking to you right here. Because there's probably a lot of people that think like you, that say, oh, yeah, Jared got into it with the coach, and he's going to play that cut over and over and over again on his show and make a big deal about it and, make it all about him and everything else. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that think like that. You want to know what I really want?
People are looking at you, Jared.
You want to know what I really want, Hal? And I want this from both my football team and my hockey team. I want to win. I do not care about the attention that I get. I want these teams to win. That's why you and I don't yell at each other anymore, because I am happy with the direction of the Predators, because I feel like the Predators are headed in the direction of eventually winning, which I like. Right. And that's how I feel about the Titans. I don't care about me and Vrabel getting into it. I care about who's playing left tackle. And I don't think I get enough credit for what I actually care about, Hal.
All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'll say you've been a lot more positive around the Preds, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. It's because the coach that you guys lectured me about for years is no longer here, and I feel great about it.
I just realized I just called you Jared. Like, I call everyone by their nickname. Do you have a nickname?
I mean, I got a lot of nicknames, Hal.
Like, friends give you nicknames and everything. Like, I guess that's a problem.
Yeah. You know what? I think that one of these days I'll let you be my friend.
Up with a nickname.
One of these days I'll let you be my friend, and then you can come up with one. Hal Gill, as always, joining us on the program. Appreciate you, Hal.
We'll see you, Jared.
Yep, Hal Gill on the program. I do want to say, like, as much as like we're joking, like I am kind of serious, I want the teams to win more than anything else. So Paul Kaharski said something that made me laugh out loud today. We'll play that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue, and Brewhouse West on Charlotte Avenue are 1025 The Game's official home for Predators watch parties. Catch all the games at Brewhouse and enjoy great specials on Blue Note Whiskey and Black Abbey beer.
October 28th is Drug Take-Back Day. STARS, Nashville's regional overdose prevention specialists, have teamed up with Skyline Medical Hospital to help provide the community with an easy way to dispose of drugs. Don't take the chance of your unused or expired medication falling into the wrong hands. Join us October 28th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Skyline Medical Hospital at 3441 Dickerson Pike. We'll have a drive-through set up to collect your unused or expired medications for safe disposal. This project funded under a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Hal Gill here for my good friends at Dunkin'. I get my Dunks every morning. I grew up with Dunkin' in Boston, and it's been my favorite ever since. Fall in love with Dunkin's pumpkin coffee, lattes, muffins, and donuts. Made with their signature high-quality coffee, each sip and bite is sure to delight. Perfect for those cool autumn mornings or as a sweet treat any time of day. You won't be able to resist the delicious pumpkin flavor. Get pumped for pumpkin. Stop by Dunkin' today.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE. 615-895-HOSE.
Join 1025 The Game and me, Chase McKay, for the grand opening of Prince's Hot Chicken at the brand new Tanger Outlets in Antioch on Friday, October 27th from 12 to 2. Come hang out with the Suit for a chance to win Preds tickets and enjoy the best hot chicken in Nashville from Prince's Hot Chicken, Nashville's original hot chicken restaurant.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, along with 94.9 The Fan, is your new home for broadcast of games and the Commodore Hour on Monday evenings. Catch all the action for football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball all season long. Go Doors!
One is a legendary NFL wide receiver.
I gotta be prepared. I have to be ready.
One is a legendary Nashville voice.
You don't have to rely on it carrying the ball 250 to 300 times.
And the other has been a legendary trash talker on the playground since the 4th grade.
Nobody is a Pro Bowler on day one of rookie minicamp.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What do you say him moving forward, and does he still get opportunities moving forward, or what's your...
Right now it's open. You know, the competition's going to be open. There's guys that are going to be back there even today that are going to go and catch, and we'll make the best decision what we feel that a guy can go and catch the ball and then get upfield and get some positive yards. So
is he still one of the options of those guys?
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's going to be back there. We don't want to throw Kyle away, and you know he's done some good things for us, so he'll be back there, and they're going to go and compete for the job, and we're going to give the job to the guy that we feel is the most reliable guy that's going to back there, that's going to catch the ball and give the ball to the official afterwards.
That's great coaching from Craig Aukerman right there, who we can never hold accountable for anything around here.
Hey, at least he's coaching him to give the ball right back to the ref.
Well, I thought he didn't coach him because last year Vrabel said we couldn't blame him for the fact that they couldn't return punts. So I guess I missed the memo on what he's responsible for and what he's not responsible for. But you know how people like text LOL sometimes? I'm a big LOL texter. Like I'll send a text even when I'll be like, yeah, that was a tough game last night. Or, oh, yeah, but I went to the bathroom instead. LOL, whatever. Very rarely do I actually laugh out loud. Today I was listening to the Craig Aukerman press conference, and he was talking all about the punt returners and doing the awkward Craig Aukerman not explaining anything. And Paul Kaharski made me laugh out loud.
Is it harder to correct, I guess, what seems to be more of a mental error than it is a physical?
Yeah, because usually, Kyle obviously has athletic ability to go back there and catch punts. He shows that all the time in practice. And now it's just a mental thing right now that we've got to have him overcome, and we all got to overcome it. And but it is tougher because it's not physical right now, because he does a great job of going and catching the ball during practice. So we just got to continue to build his confidence and build all the guys' confidence back there that they can go back there and catch the ball.
What's the definition of not physical there? Because physically he didn't catch the ball.
I mean, he ain't lying. That's it for us. Stillman and Company. ESPN Radio's up next. See you tomorrow, too.